Good morning, everyone, and welcome to another edition of the Bat Around. I'm your host, Paul Valley. He's my co-host and producer, Zachary Allen Goodman. It is a beautiful Saturday here in the Baltimore area. Today's show brought to you by the Toyota Tacoma, which comes in a range of models and trim lines. You can choose the perfect Tacoma to reflect your unique personality and driving habits. So check out buyatoyota.com for deals on new Tacomas from your local Toyota dealer today.
These headphones have decided not to work, so I guess we're gonna have to.
Lovely.
That's why I came in super loud, because I couldn't hear it.
I was like, why is it so loud?
Yeah, I'm gonna have to see if I can find something else, or maybe they'll start working. Who knows? I don't know.
I don't.
Maybe break one, or while stands on, I'll try to figure something out.
It was, or you could just put on these ones.
Oh, I didn't even see those over there.
You could try those,
reach?
and yeah, they'll reach. Try those and see if those work. Can you hear?
I can hear.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know. Well, it still sounds a little weird.
Well,
can you hear okay? Are you good?
Yeah, no, I can hear perfectly clear and perfectly loud.
Okay. All right.
Getting off the rails here a little bit to start this show.
as usual.
The World Series is over. Over with a big nail in the coffin. I told Zach, I told you all on the show that I thought the Rangers were going to sweep. They didn't sweep. They just won in 5 games. They won game 1, 6-5, and then in dramatic fashion, Corey Seager hits a game-tying 2-run homer in the bottom of the 9th inning, and then in the 11th inning, Adolis Garcia hits a walk-off home run to win Game 1.
Okay. Yeah.
Game 2, they drop 9-1, and then they never lost again. They never lost again, winning the World Series 4-1. And if you're a Diamondbacks fan, losing Game 5, being eliminated from the World Series by being shut out, has to suck.
Well, losing game 1 has to suck, because they should have won that game.
They should have won that game, and they honestly should have gone up 2-0 in the series. I remember the 96 ALCS.
Mm-hmm.
The Orioles should have won game 1 in New York. But Jeffrey Mayer is a person that unfortunately exists in the world.
He exists.
And I shouldn't say unfortunately, but I don't think anybody in Baltimore gives a crap what happens to that kid. He
not a kid anymore, but
no, he's a grown ass man.
He's a grown man, yeah.
And I think that he tried to play baseball, and I think that he got further than he probably would have otherwise because he was Jeffrey Mayer.
Could be,
but the ball was either going to be off the wall or caught by Tony Tarasco. And instead, he reaches over, fan interference. The Yankees end up winning that game on the Derek Jeter 2-run homer.
Yeah.
And then the Orioles win game 2, and the ALCS is tied 1-1, but the Orioles lose that game in 6. They could have come back to Baltimore up 2-0 and potentially gone to the World Series. And because of Jeffrey Mayer, the rule now exists that you cannot interfere. I mean, you never could interfere with the field of play, but now, if that happens, it's ruled a double, and the fans ejected from the game. But that has nothing to do with this series. The Diamondbacks up 5-3 in the bottom of the 9th when Corey Seager hits the 2-run homer completely changed what could have been a 2-0 series lead to now a 1-1 tied series. And then they go on the road, and the Texas Rangers 10-0 on the road in this postseason. Yeah. And it's fitting that the teams that they beat in the postseason in order are the Rays, Orioles, Astros, and Diamondbacks, because it spells road. It spells
That's
road.
Funny. Well,
they win all 10 road games in the postseason. Just absolutely unheard of, ridiculous.
Yeah.
And win the series 4-1. Texas Rangers with their first World Series championship in team history, and they've been around 52 years, I believe. So quite a drought, which only means that the Orioles are ending their drought next year.
Of course, that's right. Right.
Absolutely.
There's no other way to think about it.
There really is no other way to think about it unless the Mariners do it or the Guardians do it or I don't effing know. I don't effing care.
The Guardians has been what? 1920?
1948.
48. Okay.
1948.
Okay. I had the numbers backwards.
The Mariners have been around since 1977 and they've never won.
Okay.
And then you have the Orioles in 1983, and I think the Pirates. I don't think the Pirates have won a World Series since 1979.
Probably not.
Yeah.
Probably not.
Against the Orioles, so they can get effed too.
Obviously.
Yeah, obviously. We are family. We are nothing. Get out of my face. Man, I'm coming in hot.
You're really coming in hot.
Coming in hot. We got
railing on the Pirates for no reason. Like, jeez.
What, you can't handle me on your own?
Oh, man.
Oh, man. I like your hat, man. I don't think I've ever
Thanks.
seen you wear just a straight Orioles hat
I've had this
before.
hat for 2 years, and I went home this weekend, and I pulled it off the washing machine because I had no hats. So this is, I like this hat. It doesn't fit my head the best. It's a little big on me, but that's why I don't wear it that often.
We got the Orioles home and road hats covered.
I like the adjustable hats, and this one's not. But I bought this one at the Camden Yards store, like the actual Orioles store inside the warehouse, on Black Friday, like 2 years ago.
Oh, yeah?
Like that. Yeah.
Was it a good deal?
$20 or so, which for the Orioles team store is a good deal.
That is a good deal.
Yeah.
For the Orioles team store. Golly, man. Everything is so damn expensive.
You go in there and the jerseys are marked up like 30%.
Yeah.
Compared to what they are online. It's absurd.
Yeah, well, I mean, so is a hot dog's $8.
Well, yeah,
you know, not $8. Like a jumbo hot dog's like $5.75.
You gotta just bring your own George Foreman next time and just make your own hot dog.
You go in the 7-Eleven, you get the same size hot dog for like $1.25.
Yeah.
But we're not here to crap on the Orioles. We're here to love on the Orioles. And new World Series odds. People aren't loving on the Orioles as much as we would like them to be. New World Series odds are out for 2024. The Orioles have the 9th best World Series odds at 16-1, which is 4th in the AL East.
Oh.
4th in the AL East. The Rays and Yankees are 15-1. Toronto's 16-1, and the Orioles are 16-1. So let me ask you this. On what planet do the Yankees, with how much crap they are, their team because these are based off the team as it currently stands.
Yeah.
In what way, shape, or form is the Yankees roster better than the Orioles?
Well, it's not.
They have Aaron Judge and Garrett Cole, and that is it.
Right. They may have better top-end superstar players in the Baltimore Orioles. That's certainly true. I think Garrett Cole Garrett Cole's not, I guess, that much better than Kyle Bradish at this point, but he's still a certified ace. Garrett Cole is up there.
They had very similar seasons.
And Garrett Cole, to his credit, started off, I think, 9-0 or 8-0 with a
120.
Yeah, he was, and he kind of, I guess, fell back a little bit, but
then he finished really strong.
He finished strong. He's a good pitcher, really good. Aaron Judge is one of the best players in baseball. He's going to win MVP probably another time in his career at least. However, they have nothing outside of that. If he can stay on the field. But they have nothing outside of that. You're overpaying Giancarlo Stanton by $200 million, probably a lot more.
Carlos Rodon is getting paid way too much money. DJ LeMahieu's getting paid way too much money. Anthony Rizzo's getting paid way too much money. And the list goes on.
And the young talent is limited. Jason Dominguez was up this year, and he was okay in the short stint we saw him, but I think he's going to be a pretty good player.
He got hurt, right? Didn't he have Tommy John
he had
surgery?
I believe so, UCL, yeah. And then Anthony Volpe, he's going to be a good player eventually. Didn't have a good year. No, he didn't have a good year this year, but he's a really good defender, steals much bags, and probably hit a little better than he did this year.
I thought you said steals much bags.
No, steals a bunch of bags.
He steals much bags.
Bunch of bags. But outside of that, there isn't a lot of talent. When the Orioles, you look at the farm system and you say, okay, all of these guys are going to come up next year. You look at Jackson Holliday, Heston Kjerstad. These are guys that are going to play a part. It's a better team than the Yankees. And not only that, you've got a better manager and a better GM. I would argue. And Brian Cashman has struggled these past few years to be.
Yeah. So, Elias, I would think, is a better GM. Brandon Hyde, a better manager.
Yes, he's a better manager than
Aaron Boone is. Aaron Boone is terrible. He is a terrible manager.
Yes,
but I'm not. The team won 101 games this year, so let's not throw all this shade on Brandon Hyde. But I think that he's the 4th best manager in the. No, he's better than what's the guy's name up in Toronto?
Schneider, is it?
John Schneider.
Yeah.
He's better than John Schneider.
Yeah, I agree with that.
He's not a
No doubt.
so he's the third best manager in the division.
You think Boone's better?
No.
Oh.
Boone's fifth.
Okay. Well, that's what
I think Kevin Cash is better, and I think Alex Cora is better. But John Schneider and Brandon Hyde, to me, I just felt like he was overmatched in the playoffs. It doesn't mean that I don't believe that he can get better.
Right.
But right now, I'm not saying that he is
right.
a better manager than Aaron Boone. I think that they make similar mistakes.
Well, as we said the week after they got bounced, you have to be able to separate what they did in the playoffs and how Brandon Hyde managed them there and the 101 wins they racked up in the regular season. You have to be able to separate those, because if you can't, you're not looking at this critically. You're just saying, okay, we're just going to lump everything into one thing. That's not the way to do it.
Yeah, but professional sports are what have you done for me lately?
That's true.
And what he did for us lately was make terrible bullpen decisions, terrible lineup decisions, and watch his team get outmatched, outclassed, outcoached, outplayed.
It was poor.
In the playoffs.
It was really poor.
And get swept after having not been swept since May of 2022.
Right.
And look, again, not trying to throw shade at Brandon Hyde.
No.
The fact that he is a manager that took the reins at the beginning of a rebuild and has made it through the rebuild and is still here and has led this team to back-to-back winning seasons and 101 wins this past year is remarkable. It's commendable, and he has earned the right to be here and stay here. And this year, I felt like he managed so much better than he did in 2022.
Oh, that's for sure the case.
I had far less complaints about him this year, and the reality of it is, every team, the face of every team, is the manager as far, and I'm not talking about popularity-wise.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, when a team struggles or a team is great, the manager is the guy that they turn to.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
So if the Orioles had won 60 games this year, Brandon Hyde would have been fired.
Right.
He would have been fired.
He would have been.
But they won 101 games. Now he's lauded, and he's going to win Manager of the Year. Already won Sporting News Manager of the Year. He's going to win the official MLB Manager of the Year, voted on by the Baseball Writers Association of America. If he doesn't, travesty. But that's just the reality of the situation.
Yeah.
Is that no matter how good or bad your team is, the person that shoulders all the blame or all the praise.
Always.
And honestly, not all the praise. The praise always goes to the players when the team is great. All the blame when the team is bad goes on the shoulders of the manager.
Can I say something really random that is only kind of related to what you just said? There are too many awards that are being given out by people that aren't the real award. You know what I mean? Like the Sporting News Award, all this. I never know. I hear, Gunnar Henderson is the outstanding rookie. I don't know what that means. Do they mean he's not Rookie of the Year apparently yet, officially? But it's voted on by his peers.
Every publication has an award.
Yeah.
Every publication hands out awards. Because the Sporting News Award is voted on by their peers.
Yeah.
It's up there as an award that people pay attention to. The most outstanding rookie for the American League, that's the MLBPA. So that's the Players Association that votes on that. And then for some reason, a bunch of 75-year-old dudes that are members of the Baseball Writers Association of America have the award that matters.
Big Bruce Springsteen fans, though.
Yeah. Well,
undoubtedly.
If you're over 55 or Zach Goodman, you're a huge Bruce Springsteen fan. It's crazy.
Well, if you're a baseball writer, it's Dan Connolly always talks about that. If you're a baseball writer and you're over 55, then you're a Bruce Springsteen fan.
Oh, absolutely. Hey, little girl, is your daddy home? I lost my voice randomly the other day. Man. It's back. Not fully today. I can tell it's a little different today. But yesterday, man, my sister called me. And I'm on the phone with her. And as I'm talking with her, my voice goes from this to, okay, I'll talk to you later. I was like, I got to get off the phone. My voice, I can't talk. That's how I sounded like pretty much the second half of yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not sick because I've never had a cough or congestion. But there was an illness going through my office. So maybe I got a little bit of it, I guess, and it just affected my speaking voice. I don't know, but don't really remember what the point was.
I don't either.
Oh, because I was singing Bruce Springsteen, and the whole losing my voice made me be able to do just that much more of a pinpoint accurate impression of a guy who sounds like he's taking a dump on every note. So... Anyway, the Baseball Writers Association of America, their awards are the ones that matter, and all those awards are being announced this coming Thursday.
Okay.
I believe it's starting at 6 p.m. and it's probably on MLB Network.
Got it. Yeah, the problem I have, I Googled it to try to figure out what all of these awards are, because I generally don't care that much about awards, but now since the Orioles actually have a chance to win them, I'm interested.
Mm-hmm.
But I Googled the awards, and I just couldn't find a straight answer of which one was which and which one is the one that actually matters and the one that will get the Orioles an extra draft pick next year, because that's what I'm actually interested in.
Well, they're getting the extra draft pick because Gunnar Henderson
he's going to
finishing
win
first, and if he doesn't finish first, he's finishing second.
I just want to know if it happened already, and I couldn't find the right answer for it, and I was annoyed.
It comes out on Thursday.
Okay.
So there's your answer.
Yeah.
The sporting news is voted on by the peers.
Okay.
The most outstanding crap is the MLBPA.
Yeah.
And the actual awards are the Baseball Writers Association of America, which again happened on Thursday. Gunnar Henderson, with that in mind, did win the MLBPA AL Outstanding Rookie of the Year. He won that. It amounts to a hill of beans as far as his career accolades go, but he won it. Kyle Bradish was a finalist for the Outstanding Pitcher. Garrett Cole won.
Yeah.
But there was a point heading into September. Their numbers were basically identical.
It's true.
But Kyle Bradish doesn't have the popularity yet that Garrett Cole has, and so Garrett Cole won. Now, let's be honest here. Kyle Bradish was excellent in September. Garrett Cole was that much better.
Yeah.
Garrett Cole, the way he started the year, the way he finished the year, absolutely balls to the wall. And the 4 months in between were still stellar. They weren't what he did in April and what he did in September. But so he wins that. Ryan O'Hearn was a finalist for Comeback Player of the Year. Obviously, the White Sox, Liam Hendricks, coming back from a cancer diagnosis. Yeah. He won, even though he only pitched like a month and a half before tearing his UCL and needing Tommy John surgery. Yeah. Anytime you come back from cancer, you're a shoo-in to win.
Sure.
You're going to win. Now, as far as awards that players are finalists for, there will be, again, announced on Thursday, the official awards. Anthony Santander, Gunnar Henderson, and Adley Rutschman are Silver Slugger finalists. Gunnar, he's going up against, is for the utility spot, and he's going up against Brandon Drury, Isaac Paredes, and Whit Merrifield. Gunner's going to win that. He should.
Should win that. Paredes had a good year, though. Paredes was quite good.
He did. He did. I think that Gunnar had... I'm not exactly positive on this, but I feel like he had more extra base hits and a higher OPS. So I'd imagine that Gunnar has a really good shot to win that. And for some reason, I just assumed that Gunnar had a better year than all three of those guys.
Brandon Drury, I'll be honest, he's been around forever. I didn't pay attention to his numbers. But Paredes, being part of a big trade a few years ago, I paid a little bit of attention to him, and being in the division makes it easier. And I think he had a pretty decent year. Yeah,
4.3 win player. 31 homers, 352 batting. A 250 batting average, 352 on base, 48 slugging, 840 OPS. So, and 98 ribeye stakes.
That's pretty silver sluggerish to me.
A 131 OPS plus. Let's go to Gunnar and see what Gunnar did. 28 home runs, 255, 325, 489, 814, 100 runs, 82 RBIs, 10 stolen bases, 125 OPS plus. So Isaac Paredes is the biggest competition. If he wins, it would not shock me. If Gunnar wins, it would not shock me. And it might just come down to a popularity contest. If you ask the country who they know better, Gunnar Henderson or Isaac Paredes,
it'd be Gunnar.
It would be Gunnar.
Yeah.
Because he's been so lauded all season and what he did in the postseason. Now, as far as catchers are concerned, Adley should run away with this thing. The only reason he wouldn't is because people know who Salvador Perez is. But Adley blew Perez and Cal Raleigh out of the water.
Oh, yeah.
He should be a shoo-in.
Unfortunately, Perez has a history of this, winning things and getting to places that he probably shouldn't, because he's just so well known. You ask many people who the best catcher in baseball is, a lot of them who don't know the game that well are going to say Salvador Perez, because he hits a lot of home runs and he's kind of a big name and he won a World Series way back when. He's a big name. Simple as that.
He is a 4-time Silver Slugger.
Okay.
When he won it in 2016, 247, 288, 438, 725, 22 homers, 64 RBIs.
Not bad.
28 doubles. The 288 on base percent, that's not a Silver Slugger.
No.
When he won it in 2018, 235, 274, 439, 713, 27 homers, 80 RBIs, 23 doubles.
He just gets picked for winning home runs a lot.
That's not a Silver Slugger. He won it in 2020. 2020 he hit 333, 353, 633, 986, 11 homers, 32 RBIs. Deserved it. 2021 he won the Silver Slugger. And he slashed 273, 316, 544, 859.
Good year.
Led the majors in with 48 home runs and 121 RBIs. Silver Slugger. This year, 255, 292, 422, 714, with 23 home runs, 80 RBIs. And then if you go look at Adley, and he was a .5 WAR player this year.
While you're looking that up, do you remember the year where Kansas City, just because they were popular, I think it was 2017,
Every
18?
starting player was from
yeah,
the Royal. Yeah,
right.
They stuffed the ballot.
They stuffed the ballot, and nobody really deserved it that much. Maybe one or two guys did, but certainly there were a few of them that didn't. I don't remember if Perez was one of those guys or not. But the Kansas City has a weird way of doing that. I don't know. It just happens a lot.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the players have nothing to do. I mean, the fans have nothing to do with this particular one. So Adley, 22 points higher in batting average, 277. Like 80 points higher in on-base percentage, 374. Slugging percentage, 435. Similar. OPS, 809. 95 points higher.
He's got to win.
With a 128 OPS plus, whereas Salvador Perez's OPS plus was 94. Oof. So worse than a league average hitter. Adley should win. With flying colors. Now Santander, he's the one that's going to be a little bit more difficult. He is a finalist. 3 outfielders will win. He's a finalist going up against Randy Arozarena, Aaron Judge, Adolis Garcia, Kyle Tucker, and Julio Rodriguez.
Yeah.
Santander was a damn good player this year, but I can tell you, he's not going to win.
He's not going to win.
He's not going to win. And I'll bet that he had very similar seasons to all of them, except for maybe Garcia and Judge. I think Judge still hit 10 more home runs than
at least
Santander, and probably played in 50 less games because he was hurt for a good while there.
But even a guy like Kyle Tucker, who probably didn't have the season most people expected, he was still good, but he wasn't what he was last year. He would win that simply if it was just up to him and Santander, he'd win it because it was a popularity contest. This is Astros versus Orioles, and frankly, you look at what the Orioles are projected to do next year by a lot of publications already, as we talked about earlier, and you can see why the Astros are a more popular team. It's just the way it is.
Dude, Kyle Tucker is almost a 5.5 B WAR player.
What was he last year?
I mean,
probably like 7. He was unreal.
Well, let's take a look as my microphone falls into my face.
I could be completely wrong.
He had a better year this year.
Did he?
All the way around than last year. I mean, he had 1 less home run, 5 more RBIs, 9 more doubles.
Wow.
27 points higher in batting average, 39 points higher in OBP, 35 points higher in... 39 points higher in slugging percentage and 78 points higher in OPS and 13 points higher in OPS plus.
I take it back.
Yeah, he had a monster year. Last year, he was a 5.3 win player, so he was 0.1 WAR less last year. So
wow.
Aaron Judge is your Silver Slugger. Kyle Tucker is your Silver Slugger.
Yeah.
And let's look at Julio Rodriguez. There was a point where Rodriguez was like 17 for 17 over a stretch. I know he had a monster season. 275, 333, 45, 818, 128 OPS plus, 32 home runs, 103 RBIs, 37 stolen bases, 102 runs scored.
Jeez. Yeah.
And a 5.3 win player.
Santander is not competing with any of that.
Anthony Santander, 3-win player, 257, 325, 472, 797 OPS, 121 OPS plus, 28 home runs. Yeah, it's going to be Julio Rodriguez, Kyle Tucker, and Aaron Judge. Yeah. Santander is not. And just for S's and G's, let's look up Randy Arozarena here. I don't think that he deserved to be there.
Yeah, I don't know about that either.
Yeah, he 254, 364, 425, 789, 120 OPS plus, 23 home runs, 83 RBIs, 95 runs scored, 22 stolen bases, 3.5 win player. So,
still a really good player, but not like the other guys. He's not up there with Judge or Tucker.
No, and 1 point lower OPS plus than Santander. So, chances are it's not going to be Anthony Santander, but I think Gunnar and Adley have a really good shot. We're going to call Stan in 1 second here. There was something that I wanted to get into. Maybe I already got into it. It was the World Series odds. I already talked about that. So Zach's going to get Stan on the line. I want to remind you that today's show is brought to you by the Tyus Bowser Show, which is back for Season 3. Tyus and his special guests will join Glenn and Rita all over town throughout the season, giving you the chance to get the inside scoop and rub elbows with your favorite players. The Tyus Bowser Show is a partnership of PressBox and Great Eights Memorabilia and is brought to you by Superbook Sports, AJ Michaels, and HelpMyGamblingProblem.org. For more information, visit PressBoxOnline.com/Bowser. The next Tyus Bowser Show is this Tuesday, November 7th at Guilford Hall Brewery in Station North. Stan the Fan joining us here in a matter of moments. Later on in the show today from the On the Verge podcast, Bob Phelan will be joining us to talk about some Orioles prospects. Orioles have 8 or 9 players in the Arizona Fall League, and none of them are doing well. Like, they are all really struggling. We'll talk about that with Bob Phelan and some Orioles prospects that could be making waves in the majors in 2024. All that later in the program. For right now, though, joining us on the program for his weekly segment, he is Stan the Fan. Charles, Stan, good morning. How are you?
Good morning, Paul. What's going on?
Not too much. Just finished talking about the Rangers taking 4 out of 5 to win the World Series from the Arizona Diamondbacks. Stan, the Rangers win that final game 5-0. And before we get into that game, Rangers go 10-0 on the road in the 2023 postseason on their way to their first World Series in franchise history. How unheard of is going undefeated on the road on the way to a championship?
It's pretty, it's pretty much very uncommon. But remember, the old road to the championship in my day, you played either one or two teams.
Mm-hmm.
They played 4 teams. It was pretty remarkable accomplishment.
Yeah, and once they took down the Orioles, and then I think they fell behind the Astros 2-0, and then they come storming back, and you look at that, and they seemed like a wagon.
No, it was just the opposite. They won the first 2 games.
Oh, they won the first 2 games against the Astros. I must have been thinking of the Diamondbacks.
Houston came back. Yeah.
Yeah, they were.
Came back.
Yeah, Houston won 3 straight games, and it looked like they were on the brink again. And then the Rangers, they bounced back, won the last 2 games on the road, and they end up going to the World Series and winning all 3 road games there, winning the series in 5 games. Stan, the new 2024 odds are out for the World Series. Rangers have the 3rd best odds to repeat at 9-1, D-backs at 25-1. Are the Rangers... do you think that they're just as likely next year, or was this just a matter of a team that got hot at the right time?
I would not have them first of all, I would probably never bet this early,
Sure.
on something like that, proposition like that. But, they've got a lot of question marks. I mean, what are they going to get out of Max Scherzer, for the whole season? Are they going to be able to sign Jordan Montgomery? And is Montgomery the pitcher who was pitching for his free agency season, is he that pitcher for the next 5 years when some team pays him $20+ million a year? Obviously they're not going to have DeGrom. Evaldi, to me, I'm not saying I wouldn't bet on Evaldi in games, but to pick the Texas Rangers with the uncertainty of what they've got on that starting pitching staff, I wouldn't be jumping on them right now.
Would you expect them to be major players in free agency yet again for the 3rd straight offseason, Stan, or do you think they already have so much on their plate as far as contracts that they'll probably just kind of sit back and just try to re-sign some of the guys that would be leaving?
I think they'll do a little bit of both. I think they'll pick and choose, but the 2 players to me, aside from the most, I had them as my 12th most improbable team to win the World Series at the beginning of the playoffs, and I had Arizona as my 11th most probable team to win the World Series. So I may not be the best expert to ask about that, but had you said to me, well, I can guarantee you Nathan Evaldi's going to look like he pitched the first half, I would have had them. But aside from that, clearly Seager is the MVP, on that team when everything's going right. But the 2 guys to me that really were difference makers from the last time that I really saw Texas play were getting Josh Young back and Evan Carter. To me, those are the two players that really kind of put them over the top, along with Evaldi pitching as well as he did.
And it's crazy, Stan, because Adolis Garcia, he leaves game 2 with a back injury. They lose that game 9-1, and you're thinking, well, I thought they were going to sweep the Diamondbacks, and then Garcia gets hurt in a lopsided loss to the D-backs, and you're like, oh man, we've got a series now. They didn't lose again. Adolis Garcia had an historical.
I thought he left game 3.
Did he leave game 3?
Your point is still valid, but I think he left game 3.
Okay, then he left game. Zach said he left game 3. This was like a week ago. So
yeah, it was basically when that happened, when they lost him and Scherzer. First of all, I didn't think Scherzer was going to be anything to write home about.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was remarkable. He kept the Diamondbacks off the scoreboard for 3 innings, which did prove to be valuable, but he didn't leave of his own, accord. He left because of an injury. But when the two of them went down, you thought, okay, this is really opening up for the Diamondbacks, and the team rallied together. And you don't know if Bochy or somebody talked before the game 4. But they were a vastly different team those last 2 games.
So now it worked out. Evaldi was absolutely fantastic in Game 5. 6 innings pitched, 4 hits. He did walk 5, but he struck out 5. No runs allowed. Were you surprised that it wasn't Montgomery on normal rest to get the start in that game?
Not really. You've got the luxury of Evaldi is a total big game pitcher, with a history.
Yeah.
With I think 3 or 4 different teams, but no, when you got a chance to clinch, you go for the juggler a little bit. It didn't surprise you. But then you got the comfort of knowing, well, if Evaldi doesn't pitch well and they somehow win the game, we can come back. With Montgomery. So I think they were in a strong position there, and I would have gone with Evaldi.
No, and you're absolutely right. What he did in the 2018 World Series for the Red Sox, he has that postseason experience, been there, done that. It was a smart move. I thought it was going to be Montgomery or maybe Evaldi with Montgomery coming in after him just to kind of seal the deal. And Zach Gallen, Stan, puts together his best start of the postseason, takes a no-hitter into the 7th inning before allowing 3 straight hits and a run. The hard luck loser giving up 1 run on 3 hits with 6 strikeouts and 6 in the 3rd innings. Arizona in a do-or-die game, season on the line, and they go out there and score no runs. And I know that Evaldi's good, but were you shocked? For me, like if I was a Diamondbacks fan, watching my team get shut out in the elimination game, I would have been so upset about it.
Well, I mean, you're upset anyway that you get eliminated. But,
sure.
That's a tough. That's why Evaldi's such a great pitcher.
Mm-hmm.
He somehow is able to keep you off the scoreboard. He knows the situation, and he's got the stuff to get you through those key moments of the game. To me, where the Diamondbacks lost it, and you can always second guess how a team handles things, but having that game. Was it the game 4? Yeah, it was game 4 where they had to start. I mean, they basically were pitching a bullpen game.
Mm-hmm.
To go into the World Series and pitch a bullpen game is not a real good look. It reflects pretty poorly on what you did at the trade deadline, what you accomplished at the first trade. Earlier in the season, to go into a game like that with nobody else but. A bullpen game was really a bad look.
Yeah, and then
as much as I like Lavulo, I don't know about in a do or die game putting Miguel Castro in the 2nd inning.
Yeah, and I mean you look at Castro, Nelson, and Frias. None of them pitched a full inning all of them gave up at least 2 hits and 3 runs. It was not a good outing for the bullpen, and I thought the same thing, Stan. I'm never a fan of a bullpen game. Sometimes you have to do them out of necessity during the regular season, but like when the Rays went the entire season going with their 5th starter was always like a bullpen opener. I hated it. I just think it's like such a bad strategy, and to do it in the postseason, like you said, it's just mind-boggling to me that you would set yourself up for failure in that way.
Yep.
So we were talking about World Series odds, and the Rangers' 3rd best odds at 9-1. You look at the Orioles' World Series odds, and again, and like you said, it's far too early. No teams have made any moves to this point. The Orioles enter with tied for the 9th best odds in baseball at 16-1. But Stan, they are tied for 4th in the American League East, behind the Rays in New York at 15-1, and tied with I guess they're tied for 3rd, and tied with the Jays at 16-1. I look at the Rays. I can understand they won 99 games this past season, despite having half their roster on the injured list. But the Yankees, aside from Judge and Garrett Cole, I don't think their roster is close to the Orioles. Is it just because they're the Yankees that they're getting that much love after a really down season for them?
Well, they get the love because they've got the money to spend.
Sure.
And that's why I wouldn't get bent out of shape as some type of disrespect on November 1st or November 3rd that the Orioles are behind the Yankees or the Rays right now. The Rays would be the team that would drop precipitously for me with the lack of starting pitching there, the uncertainty of whether they're going to keep Glass now or not. So I wouldn't. That's why I wouldn't touch games. I wouldn't touch teams like right now.
Yeah.
You got to see how the rosters are shaping up, and then that can change dramatically. Suppose John Angelos says, "Hey, let's go for it," and he gives him the green light to go sign a pitcher, a big time pitcher.
Mm-hmm.
The Orioles' odds would drop precipitously. But right now, with the team history, with the payroll, the way it's been the last few years, and where it is right now, that's why the Orioles are 16-1. It really speaks to how good the young players are, the nucleus of that team. But you don't know which way, Mike Elias is going to be allowed to go.
Yeah. Oh, it's far too early before free agency even starts. It's like when the Super Bowl ends and then they come out the next day with the next season Super Bowl odds. Like the season just ended and we haven't even hit the draft or gone through free agency yet. So I understand that. And I kind of thought it was early too, but that's their job and they have to put out content. So I get it. Now some content coming out. What Zach and I were talking about it a little bit earlier. It is award season for Major League Baseball. We already know Gunnar Henderson won the Rookie of the Year for Sporting News as voted upon by his peers, and he also won AL Outstanding Rookie as voted on by the MLBPA.
You guys both, I'm just curious because I respect both of your opinions. You think that he is by far and away the Rookie of the Year in the American League over Josh Young?
He has everything that he did was better than any other rookie, but Josh Young missed over a month of the season.
I'm pretty convinced that Young would have won had he not missed that much time.
Correct. That's what I mean. Okay.
Yeah, no, I think we can all agree on that. So I see where you're coming from, Sam, because everybody's talking about he's the shoe-in, and when everybody is unanimously saying he's the shoe-in, he's going to win. But I don't think it should be a runaway for Gunnar. I think that Josh Young if he had been healthy, would have had a better season at the end of the year. And I think Tristan Casas had good enough of a season that you can't just completely exclude him. But I think we all know that Gunner's likely to win the award.
Likely to win it, yeah. But it wouldn't like stun me or sting me if Josh Young won because he also had. I guess the vote, though, is taken before the postseason.
Mm-hmm.
So, what he did postseason really doesn't count. So, Gunnar will 95% win it.
Yeah, he's already won the other two rookie, the ones that people talk about aside from the actual one. He's already won those. Likely to win this one. Anthony Son. Before we get into that, the MLBPA, they came out with all of their awards this past week. Again, Gunnar, most outstanding rookie, but Kyle Bradish He was a finalist for AL Most Outstanding Pitcher. Garrett Cole ended up winning. But it really speaks to how good of a season Kyle Bradish had, and I think that he's firmly putting his name on the map. Your thoughts on that, Stan?
Well, there's no question, and it didn't pan out that his one postseason start ended up being effective enough to keep his team in the game. But I wrote the column right before there that they call these guys the number one starters, aces, and I think he's going into next season, and I'm assuming we aren't going to spend that wildly to get a $30 million pitcher
right
to head the staff. I think we're as close to having a number one starter, and I always thought Chris Tillman was a very good number two.
Mm-hmm.
Who was his consistency was his trump card. But I think Bradish really goes into next season, if he's healthy, as a legitimate possibility of being the Orioles' best starting pitcher since Mike Mussina. Meaning he's the guy that you're looking to be that number one starter.
Yeah, I mean, he had the first sub-3 ERA over a full season since Mike Mussina in 1992. And, I mean, I really think that if you look at this Orioles starting rotation, I think you can say Bradish is 1 and Grayson Rodriguez is 1A on this team. And then John Means is a really solid, in my opinion, number 2 or number 3. Or maybe a solid number 3 with a ceiling of a number 2. I look at what this rotation can be, Stan. I kind of look back at the 3 pitchers that were in Oakland in the early 2000s, Mark Mulder, Hudson, and Barry Zito. Barry Zito, yeah. I kind of look at those 3, and maybe the Orioles don't have that third guy in their rotation yet, but I look at this young staff as a staff that's really up and coming, but I do believe they need to add at least one more guy, and not a back-end guy, a middle to top of the rotation guy.
Yeah. I mean, ideally for me, I'd be trying to sign Gibson again on a 1-year deal, or even gamble a little bit on a 2-year deal, because I don't think he's going to drop so precipitously that you get stuck with him if he's not pitching that well. I think somebody would take him.
Mm-hmm.
But ideally for me, I'd get Gibson. I wouldn't be talking just a replacement for Gibson that's a little better. To me, with the uncertainty with Means, I would still be looking to get a little better.
Mm-hmm.
So I would keep Gibson. If you can, again, I don't think Gibson, he won 15 games, and he'll probably outprice himself for the Orioles, but he might like so much about what was here that he might take a couple $1 million less, on a 1 or 2-year deal. So I would be signing him and then looking to get somebody that is on par with Bradish, in terms
Sure.
of where status,
I think that they'll kick the tires on at least kick the tires on Bradish this offseason. Not Bradish, I'm sorry, Gibson this offseason. And I've seen them linked via trade to Corbin Burns and Shane Bieber, and as a free agent signing, Eduardo Rodriguez. I think Rodriguez is probably priced out of Baltimore.
I've also heard reports that he's more than likely staying in Detroit.
Okay.
Is what it seems like.
Yeah. So again,
I've seen reports that the little bit I've read that the Rays may think he's the perfect guy on a 2 or 3 year deal to take the place of Shane McClanahan.
Yeah, a few guys.
The Rays have got to do a lot of stuff. They got a lot of work to do with their starting pitching next year.
And they always find a way, though, Stan. They always find a way to have some of the best pitching in baseball. So I'm not going to count them out by any stretch. Now, with the Silver Slugger Awards, I think that you could probably count out Anthony Santander. He is a finalist, but he's going up against Randy Arozarena, Aaron Judge, Adolis Garcia, Kyle Tucker, and Julio Rodriguez. I don't think he has a shot to win that, Stan, even though they do have 3 winners. But I do think that Gunnar and Adley have a very strong chance at their collective positions. Gunnar squaring off against Brandon Drury, Isak Paredes, and Whit Merrifield for the utility spot, and Adley against Salvador Perez and Cal Raleigh. If Adley doesn't win, it's a travesty. He blew them both out of the water all the way across the board. Gunnar, I think he could win, but Isak Paredes will give him a run for his money. What are the Orioles' chances, do you think, with those 3 Silver Slugger finalists?
Well, I agree with you. I don't think Santander has much of a chance. I mean, that doesn't mean he's not a real good player or somebody I'd like to hold on to.
Mm-hmm.
But the other two have much better chances. No question about it. I don't really follow the Silver Slugger Award that closely. It's not something I pay great attention to. You know, for me, if you're just talking Silver Slugger, I don't know the definition of what a Silver Slugger is. Maybe you or Zach do, but Cal Riley is you know, he's a really good power hitter. But I don't know if it factors in batting average and all that stuff. So it's not really an award I pay close attention.
It's supposed to be the best offensive player at each position. In the league, in the American League, and then in the National League. Cal Raleigh had a 30-homer season, but Adley Rutschman was better across the board except for the home runs and the RBIs, and he had a higher OPS plus and a far higher WAR. And Salvador Perez, he's in there because that's his name. He was a below-league average hitter this year. I think Adley runs away with it, but it's a fun award for individual players on individual teams. But you're right, Stan, it amounts to a hill of beans. I mean, how many players have won a Silver Slugger for having a mediocre, in my eyes, season? It happens all the time. But, you know, it's something to talk about in the offseason. And then finally, Stan, before we let you go, I don't think any of us expect the Orioles to be big players at the top of the free agent market. But do you anticipate any extensions this offseason? Anthony Santander might be a prime candidate, for example.
I'm just still not sure of where this organization is heading in that direction. You know, so if I had to choose somebody I thought might get an extension, it might be Hayes or Mullins, whichever one they you know, really have confidence in. And I don't think it'll be like a 6-year extension. I think it might be like a 3-year or 4-year type of deal. But I don't think that's real high on Mike Elias's chart right now.
Probably not. I'd imagine that it's not. But I do think that Mullins is probably the most likely of the 3 outfielders. If they think they can have Santander maybe at or below market value, which is probably a $15 to $18 million a year player, maybe they'll present him with an offer. But I don't think that they look at Austin Hayes as an extension candidate, and I think that with Mullins, because there's nobody else that can play center field as well as he does, I don't know, at least not at the upper levels of the minor leagues, I don't know that they feel like there's another option that would be better than Mullins over the next 3 seasons. So we will certainly see how that plays out as the offseason is just starting. Stan, before we let you go, what do you got coming up this week?
Just finished up a really good interview we did with Eric Garland talking about the pitching prospects in the league. Ross and Luke and I are going to go on Tuesday, and then on Thursday at 7 o'clock. I'm not sure the time we're going to do Tuesday with Ross and Luke, but Thursday I've got Chris Corman, who's the editor of the sports department at the Baltimore Banner.
Okay, well, we will certainly look forward to watching those, Stan. I know you've got a big weekend ahead of you, so enjoy your weekend, and we will talk to you next week.
All right, thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Take
See
care.
you. And that was Stan the Fan Charles, who continues his weekly baseball shows throughout the playoffs and off-season. Every Monday, Stan is joined by former Orioles pitcher Ross Grimsley and PressBox's managing editor Luke Jackson to break down the latest with the Birds. Every Thursday night, Stan and Gary Stein will chat with a different newsmaker from the world of sports. This week, Stan and Ross were joined by Orioles legend Rick Dempsey, and then Stan caught up with Eric Garfield from Florida Prospect Report to discuss Orioles pitching prospects. You can watch the shows live at Facebook.com/PressBox or find them the next day at PressBoxOnline.com/video and YouTube.com/PressBoxOnline. We got to catch a break. When we come back in, Zach will sound off, and then we'll go over some Orioles and baseball banter. That's next on the Bat Around.
Why bet with the big boys this football season? Instead, try your hand with the local book, Superbook Sports, this fall. Superbook Sports is the book next door. Just a dedicated team of the best odds makers in Las Vegas, making sure you get the best prices and parlays anywhere. And now, Superbook will give you a bonus of up to $250 when you sign up and wager on the same day and use the promo code PRESSBOX23. So bet with the best and use promo code PRESSBOX23 this football season with Superbook Sports. Visit superbook.com for terms and conditions. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Make the most out of every day in your Toyota RAV4. Available in hybrid or gas-only models. A RAV4 can get you where you want to go in style. Check out buyatoyota.com for deals on new RAV4s from your local Toyota dealer today.
The latest edition of Press Box is available now. On the cover, Todd Karpovich profiles the Orioles survivors, Anthony Santander, Austin Hayes, Cedric Mullins, and Ryan Mountcastle, who all came from the previous regime but stuck through tough times to be key pieces in guiding the franchise back to prominence. Also inside, we remember the iconic Brooks Robinson with tributes from Jim Henneman and myself, Stan the Fan Charles, and a trip down memory lane to remember the most significant moments of his career. Plus, we meet players from college basketball programs around the state. Pressbox is available for free at over 500 area locations, including 60 Royal Farm stores, and you can always find the entire edition, as well as the best daily coverage of the Orioles, Ravens, and Terps at PressBoxOnline.com.
6 chicken tenders made from fresh, never frozen Royal Farms world-famous chicken, a family-sized order of Western fries, honey mustard dipping sauce, and a 2-liter bottle of Dr. Pepper. It's Royal Farms' new Tucker's Tenders Meal. It's Justin Tucker's favorite, and at only $19.99, it'll be your favorite meal too. The new Tucker's Tenders Meal, available only at Royal Farms. Now you can kick back, relax, and eat like a champion. Real fresh, real fast, Royal Farms.
There's so much focus on sports betting these days, but I want to talk about an area that nobody wants to gamble on, where you choose to go out and spend your hard-earned dollars to eat. The Costas Inn is no gamble at all. The quality on their menu is outstanding, and the value is off the charts with a great and varied list of specials Monday through Friday. And the staples of the menu, whether it's salads, burgers, fish, they're all fantastic. And I haven't even mentioned the crabs or crab cakes yet. So check out the menu for yourself at CostasInn.com. When choosing a place to dine, never gamble on the food you put in your belly. The Costas Inn at 4100 North Point Boulevard, or call 410-477-1975 for reservations and your steamed crab orders.
Visit Harford County. Gear up for the holidays by supporting local with Small Business Saturday on November 25th. Take in the dazzling sights of the season with a Ladue Christmas at Ladue Topiary Gardens. Enjoy holiday lights, sing along to holiday songs, reserve a carriage ride, and sit on Santa's lap in Bel Air's Winter Wonderland, happening every Saturday from November 25th until December 16th. Nothing sparks that holiday joy quite like a festive parade. Head to visitharford.com and click on Events to see the full list of parades and so much more. In Maryland, you're welcome.
What company has the expertise to make your home healthier by purifying your air and killing all viruses, allergens, and bacteria? A.J. Michaels, Heating and Air Conditioning in Baltimore and Annapolis, ajmichaels.com.
All right, welcome back to the Bat Around. Today's show is brought to you by Pressbox's Glenn Clark Radio, which is the definitive place to find the best daily discussion of Baltimore sports. Watch the show every weekday from 10 to noon at youtube.com/PressboxOnline or facebook.com/PressboxSports, or listen at PressBoxOnline.com/radio, with podcasts available on iTunes, Spotify, or anywhere you get your podcasts. You never know who might pop up on GCR. This week, the guys are joined by Ravens defensive tackle Michael Pierce, former defensive coordinator Marvin Lewis, NBC's Chris Sims, and CBS play-by-play legend Jim Nantz. You can find those interviews as well as season previews with all of the area's college basketball coaches in this week's Glenn Clark Radio Week in Review feature at PressBoxOnline.com. The season previews with all the area's college basketball coaches. One of my first shows with Glenn, I was maybe 3 weeks in, probably more like probably 2-3 weeks in.
Okay.
To my career as his producer, my short career as his producer, we did the college basketball coaches show, and we started at 9 a.m. and still ran well past noon.
Yeah.
Because we had like 10 guys on, and each guy got like 20 minutes.
Wow.
It was it was a lot. It was a lot. It was but it was fun. You know what I mean? We had to do it in the conference room at the old mill building or whatever the hell that was called. We had to do it in the conference room.
Meadow Mill
Building. But it was a lot of fun. If you happen to miss this year's preview, go check it out on the Glenn Clark Radio Week in Review feature at Glenn Clark Radio PressBoxOnline.com. Excuse me, and check it out because it's a lot of fun. Gives you a lot of intel on the seasons. Maryland men's basketball. Man, I'm so done with the football program. Like they lost each of the last 2 games. They've lost to teams that they were favored to beat by more than 14 points, and I posted on Twitter last week after they lost that game. I was like, "This team sucks." Maryland, like, what's the point? They do. What's the point of even fielding a team if you can't even win your conference, let alone be in play for a national championship? Like, what are you like? The Pinstripe Bowl, the Duke's Mayo Bowl. Like, what is the freaking point?
I'm not going to pretend to know what their kicker's name is, but he's horrible. He misses every kick that's more than like 30 yards. It's weird because you see a team like Maryland that's a really good... Mike Loxley is known as a recruiter. He's known as a guy who gets really good talent to Maryland, which is a big school, but it's not the Alabama, the Georgia of the world. So he gets these good players, yet they have a kicker who cannot make more than 30-yard field goals. He misses everything, and he shanks some of them so badly. I don't want to call this guy out. I don't even know his name, but he's really bad. And it's like a I guess microcosm is the word of the entire football team.
Well, I'll tell you, the only player's name that I know with any regularity is Leo.
Yeah.
He's the only one because, frankly, they don't give you a reason to pay attention.
No, they really don't.
The last I think 2 years ago they started 4-0 and then got their asses handed to them by Iowa on primetime television. Last year I think they started 4 or 5-0 and then ended up winning 8 games. This year they start 5-0. They hang with Ohio State for 3 quarters and then they get their doors blown off by like 24 points in the third quarter. In the fourth quarter, and then they lose back-to-back games that they should have won against inferior opponents. Like Maryland's defense is really good. Their offense is I almost cursed. Their offense is like it leaves a lot to be desired. They seem to be able to move the ball between the 20s and then they just fall apart. And like you said, their kicker's not any good. They're playing Penn State today. I picked them in our picks league to cover. Not to win, but I picked them to cover because they're at home. Everybody knows that, they know that everybody's calling them a fraud. They're going to play hard. I don't think they're going to lose by 11. But if they lose by 50, it would not surprise me. This team is, what's the freaking point?
I almost put $10, or not $10. It was going to be like $5 on a plus 2,500 odds bet, where Maryland had to lose both the first quarter and the money line to Penn State in the long run. I didn't end up placing it, but it probably would have been a good bet because Maryland is not going to win this game. They're not going to win this game. I don't watch this team that often, but I know they're not going to win this game.
And somebody called me out on Twitter. They were like, "This team has done this, they've done that. You're not a real fan." And I said, no, I'm not a real fan because
I'm not either. I don't claim to be.
They haven't been consistently good since I was in high school.
Yeah.
And they haven't won a national championship in 70 years.
Yeah.
The Baltimore Orioles, they're my hometown team.
Yeah.
They're my hometown team. The Baltimore Ravens are my hometown team. The Maryland Terrapins, They should be my hometown team, and with basketball, I love Maryland basketball, and I'm so happy that Kevin Willard's here and has this program getting back to national prominence because they never should have left national prominence. But Maryland football, and I've seen Final Four teams from the Terps, and I've seen a national championship from the Terps. I've seen the Ravens win a Super Bowl. Never seen the Orioles win a World Series, but that's my love, my first passion ever.
We're getting there.
We're getting there exactly. Was the Orioles? Maryland Terps football has been a steaming pile of human crap my entire life. literally my entire life, and I didn't go to school there.
Yeah.
I went to Towson. You know, I have more of a and Towson's garbage too right now. So I don't know anybody on that team. I mean, they're Division III. Who the hell pays attention?
Well,
Division II-A or whatever the crap it is. Who pays attention to Towson?
I went to every Steve Molesky was at every home game that I ever went to. I always saw Steve there.
I think he's got season tickets.
My roommate and I in college went to just about every home game if we could. We even sat through. There was one torrential downpour, raining like you've never seen it. I mean, it was just. We were soaked by the end of it, but we sat through the entire thing, and it was entertaining. Like, it was just the fun part of like being there in the rain. It was like 35 degrees in November, and it was awesome. But you're not there for the football.
Yeah,
you're not there for the football. If you expect, I remember going to a game against North Dakota State, who at that point had Trey Lance, and Trey Lance just walked all over Towson for 4 quarters, and I think we lost by like 42. Yeah, but we still stayed the entire game. It was fun. I don't know. Was
there a lot of imbibing going on?
I guess. I don't remember. I guess. This could have even been the rain game. This might have been the one where it was just pouring. I don't remember. They all run together.
And I think Terrence West was at Towson
years ago, yeah.
When I was there?
Probably when you were there.
Or maybe the year after. Let me look up.
I would say Terrence West was there in 14 maybe. 14, 13.
Let's He was a damn good player.
He was a good player, and there's a current player on Pittsburgh who is a Towson Tiger, a corner, I believe, or a safety. I can't remember, but he was a little bit before my time.
So Terrence West would have been. It was 2013 or 2014.
Okay,
I was living in Towson.
Yeah.
When they went to play for the national championship, so I think it was for the 2013 season. That was when they played for the national championship and lost. But I never went to a game because at that point, I didn't know they were good, and I worked on Saturdays in the restaurant, and so I was not able to go to any of the games. I wish I would have taken advantage of that. The fact that I lived in Towson and was so close to campus,
and free games too.
Yeah,
don't pay anything.
I could have gone to them, but I never did, and I didn't have any friends at Towson. That sounds so sad. It's not that I didn't have friends in life. But I was 29 when I graduated college. I wasn't there for friends. I was there to go to class and then go to work and pay my bills. So, I didn't go to social functions. I didn't make friends with my classmates. I didn't do any of that. It was go to school, go to work. That was my life. There was nothing else in between. When I did have a social life and hang out with my friends, it was the friends that I had from, my previous 10 years of being an adult.
Right.
Not these 19, 20, 21-year-olds at Towson. They were all a decade younger than me.
Right, yeah. I'd be a little weird.
So it's not like I was going out and seeing the social scene at Towson. But the whole point of this is that Maryland football is just straight garbage to me.
Yes.
And I will pay attention to Maryland basketball and root for that. Maryland football, no, I'm not a real fan because they've never given me a reason to be. And I don't have that if they had been national championship contenders every year when I was younger, okay, I'd be a huge Maryland fan. And that's the way I am with basketball. But with football, what the hell have you ever done in my lifetime? You had 4 good seasons in my entire life. 4 10-win seasons in my entire life. This means absolutely nothing to me. And I want it to. I want them to be good. But this was their best chance to be a 10-win team this year and to really put themselves on the map. Maybe never for a national championship, but at least a perennial top 25 team. And they've crapped the bed. And man, I am getting really lax with only a couple weeks left of this show. They crapped the bed completely.
Yeah.
Mike Loxley, great recruiter, mediocre coach.
Very mediocre
Make him
coach.
the head of recruiting and get a real head football coach in here.
Yeah.
Maryland they were a founding member of the ACC. They are, to me, they should be, and I know they're not in the ACC anymore, they should be a team that is consistently on the map in every big sport.
I agree with that.
Not being anybody, if Duke and North Carolina, known as big-time basketball schools, if they can get to top 10 rankings, Maryland can. There's no and all the players, all the good football players that come from this state that go play at Alabama and LSU and Texas and Penn State, I don't care how good of a recruiter you are. The best players in the state aren't playing for your school.
Well,
and I think that's a problem.
And what confuses me, too, is that you have Adley Rutschman who can kick a 60-yard field goal in high school, but they can't get a kicker right now that can make a field goal over 30 yards. I'm telling you, it's really bad if you haven't watched it. This team is they're not very good from what I've seen, and I've watched probably 5 games this year, 6 games this year, and they're not very good. I especially saw the early ones where they won, and they won in a pretty, I guess, deciding fashion in a lot of those games early on, but they're not a very good team. I'm not even going to try to... Talia, I believe is how you say his name, doesn't make big-time throws for the most part. Once in a while, he'll drop a dot, like 40 yards down the field, where it's like, wow, where did that come from? But most of the time, the arm strength isn't very good. He just kind of... I don't know. He's a lot like his brother. I don't think his brother's very good at all either. I'm not a big Tua fan, never have been. He doesn't throw very hard. But he's got really, really great receivers on Miami to help him out.
He knows how to put a lot of air under a football.
He does.
And let his speedy... He has like the 2 fastest receivers in the NFL.
And the big thing about Tua, that he doesn't make mistakes. And that's he doesn't throw a lot of interceptions, and I'll give him credit there. I just think he doesn't have a lot of arm talent. Like you see a lot worse quarterbacks like Baker Mayfield who have way better arm talent than Tua does. But Tua makes good decisions, and he has Tyreek Hill.
Yeah,
and that helps. And Jalen Waddle, so it helps.
And Chase Claypool, if he ever pull his head out.
Chase
of his
Claypool.
But yeah, I have like Maryland. I think will cover today. But again, if they lose by 50,
did you bet on it or
no? It's for the weekly press box picks that we do. And Maryland when they play is always one of the games and 14-point favorites against Northwestern and what was it, Illinois. The last 2 weeks, and they lost both of those games.
Yeah,
that's just effing terrible. Like it's,
Northwestern.
Yeah, man. Like
it's bad.
This isn't a good football team, and it's shameful.
The Twitter timeline was raging when they lost to Northwestern. It was everywhere.
They should have been raging when they lost to Illinois.
But here's the thing: I also feel like with Maryland again, I'm not a fan. I don't watch this team like I probably should since I go to the school. However, I think they played out of their competition just like the Ravens do. I believe that to be the case. I could be wrong. But that means today, maybe they'll come out against Penn State, who's ranked 11th or 10th, I think.
Something like that. Maybe 8th, I don't know.
And give them, a little bit of a competition for 3 quarters.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It could be, but then I remember during the pandemic in 2020, they blew the doors off of Penn State, and it was like, oh my God, they beat Penn State. But I also remember the year, weren't they trying to get Jalen Hurts to play at Maryland? I think...
They were trying to get him to transfer at one point. I don't know what year this was.
And the game that he came to was, I think it was their homecoming against Penn State, and they lost like 52-0.
Yeah.
Penn State just blows them away, except for 2020 when everybody was like really sick. Apparently, not apparently, everybody was sick.
Everybody was.
Yeah. Now that I think about it, I should have picked Penn State because Penn State is going to beat them by 40 today.
You're not going to make much money off that bet, but if you make a bet, I know you're talking about the press box thing, but if you make a bet, you're going to make very little off a Penn State bet. I don't know.
Exactly. So we didn't have a sounding off segment for today, so we just talked about Maryland football for 15 minutes.
Yeah.
And how much I hate them. And I want to love them, but they've never given me a reason.
Yeah,
it's been 20 years since they gave me a reason to enjoy their program. And every year they start out 4-0, 5-0, and I'm like, oh. But now I've come to realize it never lasts. They'll be lucky to win 6 games this year. Seriously.
6.
They need one more win to be bowl eligible, and they might not get it.
I think they'll get it. One win, it's not going to be today, but I think they'll get it. I also haven't looked at the schedule, to be fair. So
well, I'll take a look at the schedule right
Let's
now.
do it.
You were about to say something, weren't you?
No, I actually wasn't. But next week for our final week, we will have a good sounding off segment. Now that the playoffs are over, more news actually comes out. Once the playoffs happen, and especially the World Series starts, there's just very little news that comes out. So not a lot to sound off on. But I like your Maryland football segment. That was interesting. I should watch the team a lot more than I do, given that I go to the school. I don't think I get free tickets to the games, but I've never even checked on that. Not that I would drive down there and go anyway.
I think you have to apply for them. Like they have a student section that gets free tickets, I believe, but you have to wait in line.
And I don't know, as it's probably different for grad students than it is undergrad. I really don't know.
Maybe.
But I probably...
Are you on campus?
No. I live 40 minutes away.
No, but I
roughly.
mean, do you go on campus?
No, I'm all online, so I never have to go on campus, luckily. But I wouldn't go anyway. I think even if I got free tickets.
You probably have to live on campus,
Probably.
or at least take classes on campus to get the tickets.
Towson was giving those things away like nothing. I mean, if you were a student, you got it. Like that's all it was. But
significantly smaller stadium,
different.
They still didn't fill it. So,
right.
Look, Maryland's got Penn State today. They've got Nebraska next week.
Yikes.
And they've got Michigan the week after that. And then their final game is November 25th against Rutgers. Are you going to be shocked if it comes down to that game against Rutgers and they need
no,
one win to
I wouldn't
get into a bowl?
I wouldn't be shocked. I think Rutgers would win that game too.
This team should be 8-1. Or I'm sorry, 7-1 right now. They should be 7-1, and they're 5-3, facing a really tough stretch in their schedule to close things out. I think they'll beat Rutgers.
Yeah, I would think so.
And maybe Nebraska. I remember when Nebraska was a powerhouse, and now they're just.
They used to produce. I think they still do it, but like really, really big, good O linemen. That's what I know about Nebraska. They every year in the NFL draft it would be a guard out of Nebraska that would just be massive, like 350 pounds, unreal size guys.
The Cornhuskers, they've lost to Minnesota, Colorado. They beat Northern Illinois, beat Louisiana Tech. They lost to Michigan 45-7, beat Illinois 20-7, beat Northwestern 17-9, beat Purdue 31-14. So what's their friggin' record? Are they gonna tell me?
What's their friggin' record?
What's their friggin' record? Are they gonna tell me their record? Nebraska is in the Big Ten West. Obviously, they are 5-3 overall.
Yeah,
4-1 at home. They're gonna beat Maryland.
Yeah, they probably will.
They'll win that game. So it's gonna come down to playing Rutgers, who is 6-2 overall.
Wow.
And 5-0 at home, and that game's at home. Maryland's not going to a bowl. They're gonna lose every game the rest of the way. They're going to lose.
They might. They very well might.
Game the rest of the season. This is a baseball show. What the hell is happening right now?
This was the longest non-baseball segment we've ever had in the 3.5 years of the Bat Around. That's pretty crazy.
Zach, it's 4 years. We've
4
done,
years.
We've done 4 baseball seasons. It's 4 years.
I guess
it's like if you go by year, it's been 3 years.
Yeah,
but it's been 4 seasons.
4 seasons. Yeah,
4 years of the Bat Around.
It's amazing.
Get it right.
I'm sorry.
I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
I should just resign right now.
Well, you already did. It's just next week. So anyway, Orioles banter. We'll talk about free agency here. Orioles free agents: Jack Flaherty, Kyle Gibson, Adam Frazier, Aaron Hicks, Shintaro Fujinami. Of these, I think the only one that's back is Fuji. I think he's the only one back. And like we said with Stan, I think that they're going to kick the tires on Kyle Gibson again just to have him be just to see how much he wants to come back. Maybe they've already had that conversation with him. And if they miss out on all the free agent pitchers like they did last year at the winter meetings and like they did at the deadline and when they ended up with the ghost of Jack Flaherty, then I maybe they'd be more inclined to bring Kyle Gibson back if he took a more team-friendly deal to be back here again, to have that continuity. He hasn't played for the same team 2 years in a row, maybe ever.
It's been a while. Yeah. But I will say, to Stan's comment, if this is a 2-year, $6 million deal, I'm all in. But if it's like...
He got $11 million last year.
Yeah, I know. That's why I really... This is a demonstration, I should say, of my not wanting Kyle Gibson back. Mm-hmm. I don't want Kyle Gibson back. If it's 2 years, $6 million, I'm all in. But if it's any more than that, I'm all out. I don't really think that Kyle Gibson can replicate what he did last year. I just don't think so. I really don't believe that's going to be the case.
I see that. I can see that. And I don't think that you want your 4 and 5 starters to be Dean Kramer and Kyle Gibson.
Exactly. I don't think Kyle Gibson is a horrible pitcher by any means.
And I don't think Dean Kramer is a horrible pitcher.
Neither of them. Dean Kramer finished pretty strong, and he had some good starts here and there throughout the season.
Dreadful in the playoffs.
Really, really, really. But well, everyone was. Kyle Bradish was good, but Grayson Rodriguez and Dean Kramer were horrendous. However, I look at Kyle Gibson and I say, this is a guy that in 2021 I would have been dying to have. Mm-hmm. But in 2024...
When he's 36 years old.
Coming
off a season where his ERA... Coming off back-to-back years where it was like 535 and then 478. Yeah, he won 15 games, but that's why wins are meaningless.
Someone else is going to pay him. probably $20-30 million what he wants, and they can have him.
And
I'm fine with that.
Here's the other thing, man. I don't think that you can afford to have both, and I don't mean afford cost-wise. I mean afford for the sake of your franchise.
Yeah.
I don't think you can afford to have both Dean Kramer and Kyle Gibson in 2024. They're the same dude.
Yeah.
One or the other.
And Kramer's got a higher ceiling, I think. Kramer still has probably something left you can get out of him more than what he's shown you.
And yeah, he's still in his mid to late 20s. It's
Right.
not like he's 36 also. But Dean Kramer, in my opinion, isn't a big game pitcher.
No, he's not.
I think Kyle Gibson actually has more of that in him to be a big game pitcher. When you get
Yes.
a great start out of him, that he can give it to you. And look, Dean Kramer had some nice starts in some big games this past season, and I know what was weighing on him when he made that postseason start. That was one of the decisions that I thought Brandon Hyde made a mistake, because he doesn't tell him till the day before, and it's right in the middle of while his home country is getting ravaged.
Right.
Start Kyle Gibson, man.
Well, I didn't want to say it then in case it came back on me, but I thought Kyle Gibson was the right move there. There in the back of my mind, I was saying, you're starting a guy who has a lot of other things on his mind right now, and Kyle Gibson's got experience. Not a lot. It's not a lot of. It's not like he's won 5 World Series or something, but this guy's got experience. Yeah, he's been there.
I don't think Kyle Gibson goes out and gives up 6 runs in an inning.
I don't think so either. I think you would have gotten about 5 innings of 3-run ball or 4-run ball.
Yeah,
which would have been okay.
Yeah, and honestly, I think you would have gotten 6 innings of 2-run ball.
Really? Okay.
I think he would have given you that in that moment, because we saw him do it all year.
Yeah.
Right. I think that's what you would have. And then maybe you're not dead in the water in the 8th inning, down 7-1.
Right.
You know.
So I don't know. This maybe nullifies my point a little bit. Maybe Kyle Gibson is worth a little bit of the money. But then again, I just think, again, you look at a team that won 101 games and you want to win more. You might not win more next year. The team might be better and you still might not win more. However, I think you got to get a guy who's better than Kyle Gibson and Dean Kramer. I think you got to go out there and get a real pitcher who has a really high ceiling and a guy who's going to do big things for you.
I agree, and I don't think it comes in free agency.
Yeah, I don't think it is either.
I think it's got to come through a trade. I don't like.
Yeah.
And I hate that. I hate that this team, for as good as they are, has shown no willingness to spend that kind of money.
Yeah.
The fact that we aren't sure that Anthony Santander is going to be here because he's making 12.5. He's due to make over 12 million, between 12 and 13 million in arbitration this year. The fact that we think that there's a chance that they could either trade him or just sign him to the arbitration and then let him walk because they don't want to pay more than that for him. Like I hate that. Like, what are we doing here? You know, it's not like this team has been cheap my entire life. They had a top 5 payroll from like 1996 through like 2000, and then they spent a ton of money when the team was good from 2013 through 2016. They had a payroll north of 120 million. They've got half of that right now, and they're showing to me no willingness to spend more. Because why pay these guys when we've got young guys in the system? And I get that. There's a point to that, but you can't have a team of nothing but 23-year-olds.
Yeah,
You've got to have Justin Turner. If you can get Justin Turner for $18 million this year,
you do it.
You do it.
Yeah, I do that.
You know, he can play first base. He can play third base. He can DH.
Is JD Martinez a free agent again this year? Or
he is, but they want more flexibility out of their DH. He literally can't play anywhere in the field.
Which is already their concern with Heston Kjerstad. And now you're going to add another guy in. Yeah,
and you've got Santander on your roster. That's not a thing, I don't think. I like last year, I thought it would have made sense. This coming season, I don't think it makes any sense. And Justin Turner, from an offensive standpoint, it makes sense. And at least he can play the corners, the corner infield spot.
So I've got a nagging feeling, though, that Aaron Hicks is coming back. I just feel like Aaron Hicks is coming back.
See, and that's the thing, because I think Austin Hayes should ultimately end up being, by midseason, the 4th outfielder on this team.
He probably should. And Stan made the point last week, I believe, that Aaron Hicks is probably going to get a good offer somewhere. He might get a good offer. But he might look at the Orioles and say, hey, that's a really good opportunity to come back and be a 4th outfielder, even though their offer isn't as big as the other guys.
He wants to start, I would imagine.
Maybe. He probably really enjoyed his role on this team last year. He played a lot. Even if he wasn't a starter, he played a lot.
He played a lot, especially, he was kind of out of necessity. I don't want him back.
I don't want him back either.
Anybody wants him back.
I just have this nagging feeling that Mike Elias and Brandon Hyde really liked what they saw out of him.
Man, the guys that they hitch their wagons to is so amazing to me. Ruben Odor,
right?
Ryan McKenna, Adam Frazier. It's like
and a few of the things Rock has wrote, and I don't know specifically what I'm talking about here, but just some of the stuff that I've read.
I don't know what I'm talking about, but whatever Rock wrote.
There's some things that I've read. I don't remember when or what they were called, but he makes it sound like they were really, really pleased with what they got at Aaron Hicks. And
how could you not be?
Yeah, I guess.
I mean, if you look at Aaron Hicks and what he did for the Orioles once he got here, just getting out of New York. Aaron Hicks in New York compared to in Baltimore. Let's look at this real quick. New York, 188, 263, 261, 524, 1 home run, 5 RBIs in 28 games. For the Orioles, in 65 games, 275, 381, 425, 806, 7 doubles, 7 home runs, 31 RBIs, 6 stolen bases was not caught stealing.
Yeah.
That's a good player.
Yeah.
Is he going to do that for you again next year?
And not in the full year.
And do we have to watch him jog after baseballs again?
Well, certainly at the beginning of the year, he's probably going to do that because he he looks to save his body for the stretch. I don't know. It's a good player on paper. I'm not sure I agree with that assertion from the eye test, if you know what I mean.
127 OPS plus with the Orioles.
It's amazing.
And which tied his career high from 2018.
It doesn't seem like that was the case for him. These numbers paint him to be a little better than he was. But then again, I believe
he's a career 233 hitter.
Yeah. I believe the Orioles like him a lot. I just think he's a Brandon Hyde guy. It's sticking in the back of my mind. And when you said that only Fujinami's coming back, if they can get Aaron Hicks back on a, I don't know, $7 million deal, I think they're going to do it.
But then he's going to play all the time.
He's going to play all the time.
If he's making $7 million, he's going to play all
Well, I don't think he's going to take less than that. I don't think...
Well, then he shouldn't be here.
Yeah, well, then I agree with that as well. I don't want him back. I just think he's an Orioles guy.
Maybe. He's not hitting 275 next year. I think
no way.
You see him closer to 233.
Yeah.
And here's the thing. Nobody's going to play left field better than Austin Hayes. That's his spot until Colton Cowser proves that he can be a productive big league hitter. Nobody's going to play center field other than Cedric Mullins, except for when he needs a day off or if he gets injured, right? Right field, is it Santander? Is it Kjerstad?
Yeah.
Is it somebody else not in the organization? Is it Connor Norby? He played 27 games in the outfield. Is it Jordan Westberg? Is it Kobe Mayo by midseason? You're going to have options there. The more you say it, the more I think Aaron Hicks is coming back. You son of a...
I'm so sorry. Well, look, I just see it. And whether it happens or not, I bet you they'll make an offer.
Oh, I guarantee they will.
They're going to make an offer.
I guarantee they will. It might be lowball. It might be, hey, we'll bring you back 1 year, $4 million.
By the way, just floating this. This is not going to happen. I'm going to preface this with that. It's not going to happen. Juan Soto would be. He's due around like $23 million in arbitration this year. I think he's a free agent after this year.
Yeah.
If the Orioles could make a play and get Juan Soto, they would.
I think that puts them. They have to be one of the favorites for the World Series.
They're probably the best team in baseball if they get Juan. The Braves are still really good.
Yeah.
But they would be up there with the best teams in baseball if they got Juan Soto.
Yeah, I mean that's the guy you hit third in your order, and you put him there and you go.
That is the middle of the order bat we've been saying they need for this long.
Yeah,
and
if your team is if your top 3 hitters are Gunnar, Adley, Soto. See, I've thought about it too. I try not to put it out there because I know it's not happening.
No, it's not going to happen.
You probably don't have to give up as much as you would think to get him, and maybe they would take a guy like Colton Cowser.
Yeah.
Would you trade Colton Cowser in a package for Juan Soto
without thinking
for 1 year of Juan Soto?
Without thinking.
Yeah, I mean if it makes them World Series favorites.
Right.
Well, let's talk about this a little bit. Free agents by position, it came out yesterday.
Okay.
They don't need a catcher. They've got James McCann under contract as their backup this year. They've got Adley Rutschman, and then Samuel Basallo is one of the top prospects in baseball.
Yep.
So they don't need a catcher. Do the Orioles need a first baseman?
Probably more than we think.
Yeah, because is Ryan O'Hearn gonna do what he did this year next year?
No.
Has Ryan
No.
has Ryan Mountcastle proven that he's your everyday first baseman?
Definitely not. Even more of a no than the no I just answered with.
Right. So then you look at your first basemen that are out there. Rhys Hoskins,
No.
Josh Bell,
Eh. Eh.
Carlos Santana, hell no.
No way.
Hell no.
Ancient.
Brandon Belt, not an everyday player. At
Maybe,
this point.
maybe, but not for a lot of money.
Donovan Solano,
No.
The fact that I barely know who Donovan Solano is and he's 36 says all you need to know.
No.
Garrett Cooper,
No.
no. G-Man Choi, hell no. I hate G-Man
G-Man
Choi.
Choi's terrible.
I hate G-Man
He's
Choi.
terrible, yeah.
He batted fourth every year
Yeah.
for the Rays. No,
The
like, he
Rays.
is awful.
Then he went to the Pirates last year, I believe.
Yeah, like,
so,
no.
G-Man Choi's a...
CJ Crone,
No.
Trey Mancini, love him, no.
Sorry.
Eric Hosmer, no. Jake Lamb, no. Luke Voigt, 2 years ago, yes.
Yeah.
If he could bounce back, but that dude went.
I'd take him on like a minor league deal.
He went. I could see that.
Yeah.
Give him like let him be this year's Rhino Hearn, but a little bit more power. Jesus Aguilar, no. Joey Votto, he's gonna retire.
He's going to retire.
Yuli Gurriel, he's 40.
No way. No way.
There's only really 3 first basemen that I'd even take a flyer on.
Like, Crone would be a maybe, I guess.
So Luke Voigt, I agree, a minor league deal with invite to spring training. Josh Bell.
Josh Bell would be a consideration.
Yeah.
Switch hitter.
I think there was too much pressure on him in Cleveland to be
I agree.
like that big free agent guy.
Because he was the only guy who could hit in that lineup.
Except for Jose Ramirez.
Well, Jose Ramirez. And Josh Naylor, I guess, gets credit.
And then Brandon Belt, because I think he's a veteran hitter and he plays good defense.
Yeah.
But he would have to hit like 7th.
I wanted Brandon Belt last year, and he actually ended up having a pretty decent year.
He had a good year.
Yeah.
Will you do me a favor? Will you just text Bob and let him know we're going to be calling probably around 11:35 instead of 11:30?
Sure. I'm not entirely sure I have his number, but I can. Yeah, I do.
Okay. Yeah. Just text him. Let him know. Say, hey, it's Zach. We're going to be calling at 11:35. If that's okay. Because I do want to do this. As far as second baseman, I don't think the Orioles need one. Because you've got Jordan Westberg, you've got Jackson Holliday, you've got Connor Norby. I don't think they need one, but I wouldn't be surprised if they bring in a veteran guy that can play the infield, like they've done with Frazier and Odor the last 2 years, who, by the way, if you look in the middle of this list, 3 consecutive former Orioles, Adam Frazier, Jonathan Scope, and Rougned Odor, who is still only 30 somehow. I feel like he's been around for like
if they bring
it
won't happen. He's no way.
Elvis Andrews,
no way.
4.6 WAR
this year?
Yeah, 4.6 WAR.
Are you serious? Where did that come from?
I mean, he's always been like a sneaky good player.
Elvis Andrus had 4.6 WAR.
That's what it said.
That's absurd.
No, 0.6 WAR. That must have been
okay.
It's that list. I don't know why it said 4.6.
Yeah. Okay.
But this past season, 251. No, not Elvis Andrus.
Not Elvis Andrus.
Whit Merrifield. I don't hate the idea of Whit.
Yeah, I don't either.
Tony Kemp, no. Colton Wong, no. Adam Frazier, Jonathan Scope, Rougned Odor, no. Josh Harrison is a guy who I kept telling myself after the season ended, that's a guy I can imagine the Orioles bringing in. Not that I would want him.
He's a maybe.
But I could see them doing it. Hanser Alberto, hell no. Leori Garcia, no. So Josh Harrison, I don't know that I would be okay with it, but I could see the Orioles doing that, and I could make myself okay with Whit Merrifield.
I could make myself very okay with it. Whit Merrifield is a very consistent player who plays a lot, and I like that about him. Good contact hitter, not a lot of power, but you know what you're getting out of him defensively, and the fact that he's going to be Cal Ripken III and show up all the time.
Yeah, I mean, you look at him, 272 batting average, 318 OBP, 700 OPS. He was below league average hitter, but he stole 26 bases.
I'll take that guy.
And he plays good defense.
I'll take that. And he's versatile. He moves around and almost, again, he's Cal Ripken III. He had a long streak going there.
Let's calm down on that. He's certainly not Cal Ripken III.
No, but
Zach's saying that based off of his longevity. And
he had a very long streak.
Field.
Yeah. I don't know how many games it was. It was pretty. What was it?
It was like 500 games
yeah.
or something like that. I don't even know if it was that high.
I think it got up to like 700 in the end, I believe. But nowhere close to Cal.
Well, let's look here. No, I mean, He played 158 games in 2018, 162, 60, 162, 2019, 2020, 2021. So it was probably like, that's like a 500 game stretch.
I'm going to look it up just to get the exact number. It was 553, so you're right. 553.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
They called it the Iron Man streak, though. MLB.com.
Miguel Tejada played like 900 games in a row at one point.
No, it's an unheard of thing in this game today where you play that many games in a row. So that's not a bad thing to have on the Orioles in 24.
So Whit Merrifield this past season, he played second base in 84 games, left field in 81 games, and right field in 6 games.
I like that.
That sounds like an Oriole.
Yeah, that sounds like an Oriole.
Let's see. So I think that you could realistically see either Josh Harrison or Whit Merrifield.
Yeah.
I would think Whit Merrifield, but he probably wants more playing time than what he might get here. Although, I don't know. I mean, that's a guy that Brandon Hype would love. Shortstops don't need one. Third baseman, Justin Turner is the only guy on this list that would make any sense.
Not only that, I'd argue they don't need one. Jackson Holliday's going to be here for the large part of the season. Gunner's going to shift to third. They really don't need one.
I think Gunner's going to play short. You
think so?
I think Holliday's going to play second base and short, and I think Westbrook's going to be mostly your everyday third baseman.
Yeah, that's certainly possible too.
Or an outfielder.
Yeah.
I think Norby's going to be here. The bat's been too good at AAA. My voice is going away. Again, can you tell?
No, you sound fine.
I can tell. It's a struggle to sound fine right now. Like it's a struggle. Third baseman Justin Turner to me is the only guy that would make sense here because he can hit in the middle of your order. Still, he proved that this past year. Had almost a career year across the board. You don't really need outfielders either, right?
No, I really, unless it's Juan Soto, I'm not really that.
Unless it's Juan Soto or Cody Bellinger.
I'd like a really interesting guy off the bench, like a scrappy guy who's better than Ryan McKenna and Aaron Hicks. I'd like them to figure out that, but I don't know who that guy is. I just don't know.
Is it Harrison Bader? I hate Harrison Bader.
Yeah,
I think he's such a chode. I hate Harrison Bader.
I don't know. I don't know if it's Harrison Bader.
Michael Conforto.
No, I'm not touching that.
Kevin Pillar. I hate Kevin Pillar.
I hate Kevin Pillar too. Kevin Pillar is a really good defender, but there's a good chance he wouldn't even hit that much more than McKenna, to be honest with you, at this point in his career.
These lists are too long. We got to catch a break. We're we shouldn't have spent 15 minutes talking about Maryland football. We're going to catch a break. When we come back in from the On the Verge podcast, Bob Phelan will join us. That's next on the Bat Around.
Visit Harford County. Gear up for the holidays by supporting local with Small Business Saturday on November 25th. Take in the dazzling sights of the season with a Ladue Christmas at Ladue Topiary Gardens. Enjoy holiday lights, sing along to holiday songs, reserve a carriage ride, and sit on Santa's lap in Bel Air's Winter Wonderland, happening every Saturday from November 25th until December 16th. Nothing sparks that holiday joy quite like a festive parade. Head to visitharford.com and click on Events to see the full list of parades and so much more. In Maryland, you're welcome.
Gambling can be a fun and entertaining experience, but there are risks involved. If you're planning on betting on the game at the casino or on your phone or computer, know your limit, stay within it. Set a budget and a time to stop. Remember, gambling isn't a financial solution and it doesn't mix well with alcohol or drugs. Know the risks and have a plan before you begin gambling. For free and confidential services, call 1-800-GAMBLER 24/7 or go to helpmygamblingproblem.org.
Come for a game, stay for everything else. Book an unforgettable fall getaway in Charm City. Enjoy only in Baltimore festivals, mouthwatering eats, and endless entertainment. Treat yourself to a staycation in the heart of downtown, or try one of the city's many charming neighborhood hotels. And don't miss out on packages for free parking, breakfast, and more. Plan your stay at baltimore.org/hotels.
Why bet with the big boys this football season? Instead, try your hand with the local book, Superbook Sports, this fall. Superbook Sports is the book next door. Just a dedicated team of the best odds makers in Las Vegas, making sure you get the best prices and parlays anywhere. And now, Superbook will give you a bonus of up to $250 when you sign up and wager on the same day and use the promo code PRESSBOX23. So bet with the best and use promo code PRESSBOX23 this football season with Superbook. Superbook Sports. Visit superbook.com for terms and conditions. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
There's so much focus on sports betting these days, but I want to talk about an area that nobody wants to gamble on, where you choose to go out and spend your hard-earned dollars to eat. The Costas Inn is no gamble at all. The quality on their menu is outstanding, and the value is off the charts with a great and varied list of specials Monday through Friday. And the staples of the menu, whether it's salads, burgers, fish, they're all fantastic. And I haven't even mentioned the crabs or crab cakes yet. So check out the menu for yourself at CostasInn.com. When choosing a place to dine, never gamble on the food you put in your belly. The Costas Inn at 4100 North Point Boulevard, or call 410-477-1975 for reservations and your steamed crab orders.
What's up, everyone? It's Tyus Bowser, and I've had so much fun hanging out with Rita and putting up with Glenn the last couple years that I've decided to do it again. Season 3 of the Tyus Bowser Show is happening this year, as we'll be all over town, giving you the chance to get to know me and some of my teammates. As we talk football, life in general, and just say what needs to be said. You can find out more about the show by going to PressBoxOnline.com/Bowser. If you don't live in the area, you can watch the shows live on Facebook and YouTube. And if you miss one, you can listen Friday nights at 105.7 The Fan. So we'll see you all season long for the Tyus Bowser Show, a partnership of PressBox and Great Ace Memorabilia.
The next Tyus Bowser Show is Tuesday, November 7th at Guilford Home Brewery in Station North. It's brought to you by AJ Michaels, Superbook Sports, and HelpMyGamblingProblem.org.
The latest edition of PressBox is available now. On the cover, Todd Karpovich profiles the Orioles survivors, Anthony Santander, Austin Hayes, Cedric Mullins, and Ryan Mountcastle, who all came from the previous regime, but stuck through tough times to be key pieces in guiding the franchise back to prominence. Also inside, we remember the iconic Brooks Robinson with tributes from Jim Henneman and Stan the Fan Charles, and a trip down memory lane to remember the most significant moments of his career. Of Jim's or Stan's career? I'm just kidding. Plus, we meet players from all of college basketball programs around the state. PressBox is available for free at over 500 area locations, including 60 Royal Farm stores, and you can always find the entire edition as well as the best daily coverage of the Orioles, Ravens, and Terps at PressBoxOnline.com. Now, if you want the best coverage of the Orioles farm system, look no further than the On the Verge podcast. Prominent on that podcast is Bob Phelan, and he's with us today on the Bat-Around. Bob, good morning. How are you?
Good morning, Paul. How's it going? I'm good.
We're doing well, rolling right along here. Sorry to keep you waiting there. We talked about Maryland football way longer than we should have, and it threw a wrench in the spokes for the pace of the show. So my sincerest apologies there. Bob, the Orioles have, 8 prospects in the Arizona Fall League. None of them have performed particularly well. Let's start with the pitching side of things. Have you been paying before we do that, have you been paying attention to the Arizona Fall League?
I have been paying attention, probably not as much as the past couple of years, just the quality of players they sent out there. There's no Heston Kjerstad of the world this year. But yeah, the performances have not been outstanding. There's been a couple guys that have pitched well, but nothing spectacular.
Yeah, Zach Peak, 1-1, 5.63 ERA, just 8 innings pitched. Carter Baumler, 0-1, 4.50 ERA. That's a quality start. Over 10 innings pitched. Carlos Tavera, 0-0, 7.71 ERA in 4 2/3 innings. And Peter Van Loon, 2-2 with a 10.8 ERA in 8 1/3 innings pitched. Carter Baumler, to me, is the name that sticks out the most there because this is a guy who the Orioles gave him a ton of overslot money to forego his commitment to college. He compared himself to Zach Greinke, saying he was a more athletic Zach Greinke. Then he got hurt in Instructs a couple of years ago with Tommy John surgery, and has had a hard time getting back on the field consistently. Tell us a little bit about Carter Baumler and how important the 2024 season is for him.
I think it's hugely important. He was a high school draft pick out of that 2020 shortened draft, and he's missed all but a handful of innings due to injuries. I think he had Tommy John surgery right after the draft, and he had a shoulder issue in 2022, and that kind of lingered into this year. It's like if we had drafted him as a college starter with obviously very limited innings. So he's still, he can be on track to get get back into the mix as far as starting pitching prospects go. And if you think about it, he has only pitched at low A Delmarva. The Arizona Fall League is usually double A, high A guys that are maybe trending towards triple A. So this is pretty tough competition just based on what he's faced the past couple of years with his limited experience. So I'm pretty encouraged by what he's done. 15 strikeouts in 10 innings is good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, he's had he was a guy who, because of the name, but also because of the performance. You mentioned the 15 strikeouts in 10 innings pitched. The 4.50 ERA is the lowest amongst the four pitching prospects, and because of the overslot, the foregoing the commitment, and being that guy who we expected to, be a riser in the system, Carter Ballmer has kind of stood out. Now on the position player side of things, T.T. Bowens, Billy Cook, Connor Pavoloni, and John Rhodes. John Rhodes is a name that sticks out to me there, but the lowest batting average, the lowest on-base percentage, the lowest slugging percentage, the lowest OPS plus. Bowens and Cook have combined, I believe, to hit like 7 home runs in the Arizona Fall League. Rhodes hasn't done much of anything, but he's the name that everybody recognizes.
Yeah, I'm really surprised by the performance of Rhodes because I've liked him for a while. I feel like he's just a bunch of tools that just hasn't been able to put it together for extended periods of time, whether it's from injuries or up and down performance. So, a hitter-friendly environment. I expected him to go out there and really look impressive. So I'm not sure what that's about, but Billy Cook had a surprising season in 2023. Started off super slow and then just got better as the season went on, had a 2020 season. So, yeah, again, in Arizona Fall League, he started off slow, but he's been on fire lately. 4 home runs, 4 doubles, 820 OPS. So, yeah, that's the highlights on the position player side. And if I could just mention, Trey McGow is also on the pitching side for the Orioles. He was a minor league Rule 5 pick last year from the Pirates. He had Tommy John, so he didn't really get back into the swing of things until late in the season. I'm sure they sent him out here just to get some more innings. He was actually selected to the Arizona Fall League All-Star team. He's got a 3 ERA over 9 innings, 12 strikeouts, 3 walks. So obviously small sample size. So just wanted to shout him out.
I had a list of the guys, and it must have just been, when I was doing the notes last night, it must have just been an oversight. Because I don't have his name listed down, and it figures the guy who's been the best player out there is the guy that I missed. So go figure. Right now, before we get into some more prominent Orioles prospect names, I want to talk a little bit about Chase McDermott and Cade Povich. McDermott was phenomenal this past season. 8-8, 3.10 ERA, 152 Ks, and 119 innings pitched between AA and AAA. How close is this guy to the majors, and how do you think his stuff will play at the big league level?
This is McDermott out of the two?
Yes.
Yeah, I think, he had a fairly serious back injury towards the end of the season. Hopefully that recovers pretty well over the offseason, but I think he's very close to being a major leaguer. I would not be surprised if he's a guy that sticks around at spring training a little bit longer than maybe some people expect. He's kind of like a right-handed DL Hall we've compared him to, but he's actually gotten better as he moved up to AAA. The walks improved. He just continued to dominate, even though it was tougher competition. He's a guy that his fastball just hops. Like, we've heard that the Orioles love pitchers with hop on their fastball, but his you can physically see. It's pretty impressive, and he's got a nice little breaking ball and change up as well. I think his floor is like a closer, not as floor as a closer. His floor is a high leverage reliever, I should say. But I do think he has a chance to be a starting pitcher in the bigs for a long time. And, if you have that good fastball and you can spot it, I think he's just a guy that needs to trust his stuff and let the hitter swing, and I don't think much damage will be done.
Cade Povich. A lot of hype surrounding Cade Povich, but his minor league numbers have never backed that hype up. And I thought maybe his fielding independent pitching would be a better number. It wasn't. His ERA for his career in the minors is approaching 5, just as it was this past season. What about Cade Povich has everybody so high on him?
It's just his stuff is phenomenal. It's the fastball's not going to wow you, but he's got 5-6 pitches that are all average to plus. Really, for him, it's just consistency and command. He'll have his starts where he's dominant for 6 innings, looks amazing, strikes out 11, 12 batters, and then he'll come out the next time, walk 4 or 5 guys and give up 4 runs over 3 innings. So I think lefties I feel like can be a little bit longer to develop and really refine their craft. I was looking at Max Fried's last year in the minors before he got to the majors, and it was an ERA in the mid to high 4s. Kind of reminded me of Povich. So I think it's just a matter of consistency and having everything click at the same time.
Kyle Bradish was a guy who wasn't really dominating in the minor leagues throughout his minor league career, but people loved the stuff, and now he's the Orioles ace of the staff. Is that something that you could envision for Cade Povich as he comes along?
Yeah, absolutely. And I wouldn't bet on it, but I think it's a type of arm similar to DL Hall where you can just see the pure stuff, what he could be if you put it all together, and you just, you keep running them out there until they run out of options or they get too expensive, what have you. But he's a guy that you have to give every chance to just have everything click and become a mid to top of the rotation starter like Bradish.
And do you think he'll get that opportunity maybe as early as this coming season?
I could see it like a spot start or two, maybe some play in the bullpen. If the offseason goes the way I'm wanting and hoping and expecting it does, then I'm not sure if these guys are going to just be handed roles, especially as a starting pitcher this coming season. I'd like to see the Orioles get a legit veteran mid the top of the rotation starter, maybe another guy, and just have these guys force the issue. But that could also improve the bullpen. So I could see him getting a start or two, but I think he'll make his major league debut this year, just not sure in what role.
All right, I think that's the best that really we can hope for right now. We know that Chris Holt stepped down from his pitching coach role and to focus solely on being the director of pitcher development for the entire organization, and maybe they did that with guys like McDermott and Cade Povich in mind. Now, the big name is Jackson Holliday. Minor League Player of the Year, organizational Minor League Player of the Year, top overall prospect. He's going to be given an opportunity to win a job in spring training, Bob. Will he?
That is the question, right? It's very interesting. I think the entire spring training is going to be incredibly interesting because I think a guy like Kobe Mayer's in a similar boat where he could win a job out of spring training. But, yeah, already, even if he makes no improvements over the offseason, he's a guy that he's incredible field to hit. He's probably going to hit 270 to 300 in the majors. He's going to get on base at an excellent clip. He's going to, he's more of a second baseman right now than a shortstop defensively, but that's just because he hasn't had the time to develop the defensive game. The bat's ahead of the glove right now. So I think if he makes it, it'll be a second base. And, the power is going to develop. He was 19 all season and still had plenty of extra base hits, I think 12 home runs. And he's working hard with his dad and brother to just get better and improve. And I think the better you are, the faster you are able to improve at a young age. So I would not be shocked if he came into spring training and it was just like, wow, okay, yeah, he's going to make the team. He's going to be the favorite for Rookie of the Year in 2024. But also, there's a case to be made where he could use a little bit more AAA seasoning. But then if you leave him in AAA, you're losing out on the possibility of another draft pick, the way Gunnar Henderson will most likely get the Orioles this year. So it's a tough call. I think at the latest he'll be up midseason. I don't see them waiting until September of next year. He's just too good to play around with that.
Yeah, I heard somebody, and I can't remember who it was, but it was a national beat writer, I believe, or a national baseball writer, who said that he believed that Jackson Holliday could come up to the majors at any the end of this past season and still hit 300. The bat is so incredibly talented. The family, the bloodline is so incredibly talented, and I think that we're all hopeful that Jackson Holliday will be running down that orange carpet on opening day 2024. Now, somebody else who is more likely to be a second baseman at this point in their career is Connor Norby. The bat's special. The glove is limited. 21 homers, 40 doubles, 92 RBIs, 290, 359, 43, 842 slash on a AAA all season. Connor Norby is one of those guys where, we always talked about Gunnar Henderson and we always talked about Jordan Westberg, and Connor Norby kind of got lost in the shuffle there, but he's been damn good. and I believe he set a AAA, at least a Norfolk record, with 164 hits this past season. I don't know that he has much more to prove at AAA. What are the Orioles' plans for him heading into 2024?
I wish I knew, but like you said, the bat is special. I actually do think his defense improved a little bit this year at second base, and he played some left field and looked okay out there. Maybe if he could it's just really tough with the guys ahead of him, with Jordan Westburg, Joey Ortiz, Jackson Holliday, Kobe Mayo. It's a tough fit on the infield, especially you still have Jorge Mateo, Ramon Arias. Who knows what they're going to do there? If he's traded, I think it's not because the team doesn't like him. I think it's just because he's incredibly valuable, and you want to get him some major league time and get something in return. But I could also see a world where you trade a Westberg or an Ortiz, and then Norby's like that, platoon right-handed bat off the bench who can start in left field, start at second base, maybe first base, DH, just to get that bat in the game. So the fun thing about this offseason and this next season or two coming up is that for fans, like, there are so many options and so many different ways the team can go, and so many guys the team can try out. And if it doesn't work out, go to the next guy. But if it does, you've got another star.
Yeah, and I see. I know that I said that Connor Norby gets lost in the shuffle. I think that's amongst most casual Orioles fans. For me, I always held him in the same regard as Jordan Westberg. Is there a scenario in which, and we've mentioned that he played I believe it's 27 games in the outfield in Norfolk in 2023. Do you see Jordan Westberg potentially moving to an outfield spot at times as well, just to get them both on the field at the same time, or is Jordan Westberg's glove too good in the infield, too valuable in the infield to move him off the dirt?
I think it's an option, but I do believe that. I already believe that Westberg's glove was pretty good, but he looked phenomenal at second base defensively, and I think the baseball savant, out above average, showed that as well. At third base, he didn't look quite as good, but still pretty good. So I think if one of them is going to move to, probably not left field at Camden Yards, left field on the road, right field at home, I would say Norby more so, but, again, we're loaded on the infield, so I think you can make a case for Westberg to get some time out there as well.
Kobe Mayo had a phenomenal season between AA and AAA this year. The power's there, the bat speed's there. He's got 70 grade arm. I don't know that the glove plays at third base, and I don't know that there's going to be a place for him at third base. And I think that first base wastes his arm. But is he an outfielder? Where do you envision Kobe Mayo is going to make his debut in 2024? It could be that he wins a job in spring training. It could be that he comes up in June. But where do you envision Kobe Mayo playing the bulk of his time at the big league level as far as a position is concerned?
I think he's the third baseman. I think the glove really proved itself this year. He's continued to just slowly get better. He's been playing there his whole life. Obviously, the arm plays over there, but I think the glove does as well. I don't think he's going to be like plus. He's probably not Matt Chapman over there, but I think he's definitely good enough, especially with, for me, a dream scenario this spring training is Kobe Mayo third base, Gunnar Henderson shortstop, Jackson Holliday at second base with Joey Ortiz as your bench infielder. Obviously, that's no guarantee. Like you said, he could start back in the minors and work his way up. I think if he's not a third baseman, I think you try to make him a right fielder just because Zach Cannon would play excellent out there. I think he's athletic enough to learn the position. But I think it's kind of Kobe Mayo is underrated at this point, which is crazy to say because of the season he had and the status that he has on prospect lists. But this kid hits bombs. He vastly improved his walk rate. He hit for average. He didn't strike out as much, and the defense came along. I think he's a top 10 prospect in baseball as well.
Wow, a top 10 prospect in baseball. That's high praise.
Yeah.
So with Kobe Mayo, then, you don't foresee a situation where he takes over for Ryan Mountcastle?
Not full time. I think he could be a guy that you play him at third base, you play him at a corner outfield, you play him at first base, DH. I could see him as a guy that moves around, but I don't think he's a guy that's going to be like, darn, he's got a great arm. Wish we didn't have to waste it because he's a first baseman.
Yeah, no, I agree too. I I think that the Orioles, if they're their weakest spot, because I don't know that Ryan O'Hearn's going to repeat what he did this past season, and Ryan Mountcastle has yet to prove that he belongs, playing first base and batting in the middle of a big league lineup at this point. And I know that that's weird to say considering his hard hit rate and all the home runs that he's hit, but he hasn't really bounced back to that rookie season where he finished second in Rookie of the Year voting like we anticipated him to do. So you're just kind of trying to figure out, how do the Orioles make themselves the strongest at that position? You would hate to waste Kobe Mayo's arm over there, but that's for sure. But 45 doubles and 29 homers in the minor leagues, you want that in your big league lineup at some point this year. I would tend to think anyway. You seem to be pretty high on Joey Ortiz. I'm higher than most on Joey Ortiz also. I think the glove plays at an elite level at all three infield positions. I think the bat is better than people think. I think he's got good bat speed and is able to find the barrel more often than people would think. And I also believe that he could be a starting shortstop on half the teams in baseball right now. How big of a trade chip is he, and is he more valuable to the Orioles as a player or as a trade piece?
That is a good question, but first of all, I agree with you. I think he could be starting shortstop for at least half the teams in the big leagues. I think he's one adjustment away from being like an all-star level shortstop in the major leagues. He hits the ball incredibly hard. I think he had a max exit velocity of like 114, 115 last year, which for his size is crazy. It's just he doesn't lift the ball nearly enough. If they can get him to lift the ball more, he's going to be a stud. I think he's probably more valuable as a trade chip than a lot of fans think. It's a good question if he's more valuable as a trade chip. It depends, I guess, how high other teams value him. But, I mean, I'd love to see him be that, Ramon Urias type of guy that can play, or combine Mateo and Urias, a guy that can come off the bench, play 4 or 5 times a week, rotating between infield positions. And maybe one day he could earn the starting shortstop job, but with Gunnar and Jackson, that's tough to see. So as much as I love Joey Ortiz, and I hate to say it, maybe the trade chip is where he's more valuable for the Orioles.
Yeah, I think I feel the same way. I think that he's just his glove is too good, and I think his bat has enough upside that the Orioles can package him and get a big return with him as part of a package. Maybe for a top of the rotation starting pitcher. Love Joey Ortiz. I was hoping he would have been here a lot more than he was in 2023. And I just don't know that there's room for him now, because as good as he is, they have so many guys who are just a little bit better or a lot better in their system already. I will say, I think he's a better fit for this team at this point than Urias, Adam Frazier, or Jorge Mateo. So there's that. We could see him as an ultimate utility infielder for the Orioles next season.
Yeah, and we know that Mike Elias is not going to just trade him to trade him.
Sure.
He's not going to do that with the prospect. So if they trade him, it's because they felt like they got a fair or more than fair deal. So at least we'll know that.
And then finally, you said a little bit earlier in the segment that it depends on what the Orioles do, and you have a lot of hopes for what you want them to do, what you hope they'll do, and what you expect them to do in this off season. What are your expectations for the Orioles off season as they try to revamp after a 101 season and try and make a deep run into the playoffs in 2024?
Yeah, I would love to see them trade from some of this prospect depth, especially up in the upper levels of the system, in order to get a veteran mid to upper rotation arm. Like I think the Seattle Mariners are a great place to look between some of their super young guys like Bryce Miller and Brian Wu, or a more established guy like George Kirby or Logan Gilbert. I think they have the bullets really to trade for anyone. I prefer it to be someone that's under team control for a little bit longer than, say, Corbin Burns, who's going to be on his last year of his deal. But I would love to see them do that and then sign a starting pitcher to a one-year deal. We saw them go from Jordan Lyles to Kyle Gibson. Maybe they go from Kyle Gibson to another guy that is going to, like a Lucas Giolito, who might want to bounce back on a one-year deal with some upside. So you're just slowly improving on that, veteran one-year deal that you make, it seems like, every year. And then I'd like to see them get, whether it's through trade or free agency, like 1 or 2 legit bullpen arms with Bautista being out. I think offensively we're pretty solid. Maybe they want a right-handed thumper in the outfield like Adam Duvall or Teoscar Hernandez, someone like that.
Mm-hmm.
But I think the focus has got to be pitching.
Yeah, I think it's got to be pitching too. I'd love to see, like you said, a veteran middle of the order bat. I wouldn't mind having Justin Turner for a season here if they could find a way to get him into that infield rotation, whether it be at third base, first base, and then a little bit of DHing also. I think the bat is still really good even at 39 years old. So, but I think we're on the same page as far as our expectations. Lucas Giolito was a guy who definitely stands out to me, somebody who could be looking for a 1-year make good deal, kind of like Cody Bellinger on the offensive side of things this past season. Because the stuff's there for Giolito. He's just got to put it together again. And what better place than in Baltimore, So we'll definitely see. Yeah. What do you got coming up with the On the Verge podcast?
This Monday we have a podcast, and we'll always be live Monday nights on YouTube and then available anywhere you get your podcast. But this Monday we're going to talk about which players should and will be added to the 40-man as the deadline is November 14th. And it's there's some tough decisions. It's getting tougher. The 40-man is better than it's ever been. And, it's going to be interesting to see who they decide to protect from the Rule 5 draft.
Yeah, it certainly will be interesting. We're looking forward to that. And, Bob, I know that this show is coming to an end next week, but I will be doing something. So I know you and I are going to be talking over the course of the next several months. So we will talk again soon, all right?
Absolutely. Love to talk to you. Good luck with everything.
Thank you so much, and we'll talk to you soon. Have a great weekend, Bob.
All right. You too, man.
That was Bob Phelan from On the Verge podcast. If you want minor league coverage, the best of minor league coverage, look no further than the On the Verge podcast. They just started a couple of years ago, and they've gotten so much traction so quickly. They do an absolutely phenomenal job.
I have never seen an Orioles podcast take off like that one.
Yeah,
they found the right market in the right time. People who want to see young Orioles players in the minor leagues, and they covered that throughout the rebuild, and they have done a really, really good job.
Yeah, and the Orioles are likely to get, 3 first-round picks this year?
Yeah.
Which is just going to give them even more stuff to talk about.
It's amazing because it's you feel like the rebuild part is over, where they're really just stocking up the farm system, but then you look at that, it's not. It's really not. They still have so much work to do to build this farm system up, and they're going to keep doing it. And don't be surprised, and I think I said this last week and even the week before, if they make a trade to acquire a prospect this offseason, maybe 2, maybe 3. That's the way they operate. I think they're going to continue to be both buyers and sellers, because that's the way you make a really, not substantial, but consistent and substantial.
Prolonged
run. Substantial is also the word. Just a very good and consistent farm system over a period of time.
Yeah, no, I think I agree with you on that one. We got to catch our final break. When we come back in, we'll close things out with Take to Rake and Final Thoughts. That's next on the Bat Around.
Come for a game, stay for everything else. Book an unforgettable fall getaway in Charm City. Enjoy only in Baltimore festivals, mouthwatering eats, and endless entertainment. Treat yourself to a staycation in the heart of downtown, or try one of the city's many charming neighborhood hotels. And don't miss out on packages for free parking, breakfast, and more. Plan your stay at baltimore.org/hotels.
What company has the expertise to make your home healthier by purifying your air and killing all viruses, allergens, and bacteria? A.J. Michaels, Heating and Air Conditioning in Baltimore and Annapolis, ajmichaels.com.
Gambling can be a fun and entertaining experience, but there are risks involved. If you're planning on betting on the game at the casino or on your phone or computer, know your limit, stay within it. Set a budget and a time to stop. Remember, gambling isn't a financial solution, and it doesn't mix well with alcohol or drugs. Know the risks and have a plan before you begin gambling. For free and confidential services, call 1-800-GAMBLER 24/7 or go to helpmygamblingproblem.org.
Whether your focus is luxury and comfort, convenience and technologically advanced connectivity, or sporty performance and aggressive styling, we've got the perfect Highlander for you. Check out buyatoyota.com for deals on new Highlanders from your local Toyota dealer today.
What's up, everyone? It's Tyus Bowser, and I've had so much fun hanging out with Rita and putting up with Glenn the last couple years that I've decided to do it again. Season 3 of the Tyus Bowser Show is happening this year, as we'll be all over town, giving you the chance to get to know me and some of my teammates. As we talk football, life in general, and just say what needs to be said. You can find out more about the show by going to PressBoxOnline.com/Bowser. If you don't live in the area, you can watch the shows live on Facebook and YouTube. And if you miss one, you can listen Friday nights at 105.7 The Fan. So we'll see you all season long for the Tyus Bowser Show, a partnership of PressBox and Great Ace Memorabilia.
The next Tyus Bowser Show is Tuesday, November 7th at Guilford Home Brewery in Station North. It's brought to you by AJ Michaels, Superbook Sports, and HelpMyGamblingProblem.org.
6 chicken tenders made from fresh, never frozen Royal Farms world-famous chicken, a family-sized order of Western fries, honey mustard dipping sauce, and a 2-liter bottle of Dr. Pepper. It's Royal Farms' new Tucker's Tenders Meal. It's Justin Tucker's favorite, and at only $19.99, it'll be your favorite meal, too. The new Tucker's Tenders Meal, available only at Royal Farms. Now you can kick back, relax, and eat like a champion. Real fresh, real fast, Royal Farms.
The latest edition of Press Box is available now. On the cover, Todd Karpovich profiles the Orioles survivors, Anthony Santander, Austin Hayes, Cedric Mullins, and Ryan Mountcastle, who all came from the previous regime but stuck through tough times to be key pieces in guiding the franchise back to prominence. Also inside, we remember the iconic Brooks Robinson with tributes from Jim Henneman and myself, Stan the Fan Charles, and a trip down memory lane to remember the most significant moments of his career. Plus, we meet players from college basketball programs around the state. Pressbox is available for free at over 500 area locations, including 60 Royal Farm stores, and you can always find the entire edition, as well as the best daily coverage of the Orioles, Ravens, and Terps at PressBoxOnline.com.
The place to be after this and every Ravens game this season is PressBox's Project Game Day. Glenn Clark, Rita Hubbard, and former Ravens Super Bowl champion Femi Ayanbadejo will react live to every game, offering their truly uncensored opinions about the team's decisions and results in each game. Plus, they'll be joined by other special guests during the year, and you can chime in live during each show as well. Watch the shows live at youtube.com/PressBoxOnline or Facebook.com/PressBoxSports, and check Glenn Clark Radio or the NFL Chick on Twitter for a Zoom link that will allow you to be a part of the show. So join Glenn, Rita, and Femi tomorrow after Ravens Seahawks and every game day this season. Project Game Day is brought to you by Superbook Sports, AJ Michaels, and HelpMyGamblingProblem.org. Was Femi Ayanbadejo the name that you struggled with while I was gone?
Maybe
it's got to be.
It probably was.
That's the only name that we
like that. That's tough though. That's not one. It's not like it's not Chris Jones or something. I mean,
not if you're from Baltimore. Both Ayanbadejo brothers played for the Ravens.
I know, and I know exactly who he is. Like I know all about him, but I just don't. I don't know. That name's tough. That name is tough. And he was a little bit before my time.
Yeah, but
both of them.
But his brother wasn't.
No, what year did he?
He was here like 2014.
Yeah, that's true. I guess
he was a really big time special teams player.
Yeah.
For the Bears, and then he came over. So Femi was the fullback.
Right. Femi's the one I would say I know a lot more about.
Let me Brendan Ayanbadejo.
Brendan, okay. Yeah, I mean, I vaguely remember him.
So Brendan Ayanbadejo was a linebacker, but he was a Pro Bowl
special teamer.
Okay. He was in Baltimore. Well, okay.
Back when
2008 through 2012. So he won a Super Bowl with the Ravens.
Yeah, I started watching football around 2008. So that's about right.
Yeah, he was a 3-time Pro Bowl special teamer.
I certainly didn't know names back then like I do now, though.
Yeah.
It's a different level of interest.
Let me look up Femi Ayanbadejo, 1998 to 2006. He was it says his position was running back. He was a fullback.
Mm-hmm.
Both brothers won Super Bowls with the Ravens, one as a fullback and one as a linebacker, but more so a special teams player. Femi in 2000 averaged 7.3 yards per carry.
Good God.
I'm sorry, per reception.
Okay, that makes more sense.
Per reception.
That makes more sense.
Yeah, he had 23 catches, 168 yards. Rushing, let's see, 123 for the Ravens. He 61 carries, 210 yards, 2 touchdowns in 3 seasons. Both brothers won Super Bowls with the Ravens, though.
Yeah.
So that's cool. But
tough name.
Yeah. Yeah, tough name, but not if you're from here and you know. Like,
fair.
You've had an I am Badejo on both.
Well,
Ravens
the first one,
there's no chance. For that.
Right, way too early. But the second one, I guess I should have known.
All right, so let's do take to rake.
The final standings, right? That's
I didn't figure out the final standings.
Oh, okay.
You won. If you want, you can take the take to rake trophy with you.
I'm not gonna do that. I think it should stay here.
It's not going to stay here because we're not staying here. It's coming with
That's true. Okay.
Take it. If you're not
you're what, 3-time champ? I'm only 1-time champ, so
yeah,
I think you deserve it.
I think it really sucks that I won the first 3 years of the bat around, and then in the 4th year, our closing year, you come in and take it and take your ball and go home.
Unbelievable.
Yes, OB.
God, I'm a terrible guy.
Let's talk a little bit about take to rake here. You took Evan Carter and who else? I have it up. Hang on. Evan Carter and Ketel Marte.
Oh, right. That's what it was.
I took Adolis Garcia and Corbin Carroll.
Okay.
Garcia went 0-for-6.
Yeah, it didn't play much.
And then, so yeah, he left.
It might have been game 2 then.
Yeah, he left game 2.
Okay.
He left game 2 because I remember he got hurt and they were losing.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he left game 2 because he didn't play after the second game.
I guess that's true.
He went 0-for-6 with 2 walks, 2 strikeouts. Corbin Carroll went 4-for-17, no extra base hits, 2 walks, and 2 RBI. Evan Carter went 4-for-15, 1 double, 6 strikeouts, 1 walk.
Okay.
And I think Ketel Marte probably got you the final victory in take to rake.
Yeah, I would think so.
I mean, I think that his hitting streak was snapped in game 5.
Yeah, sounds right.
It was, and he went 4-for-15. They all pretty much Adolis Garcia. I guess you win based on the fact that both your guys had.
If you combine the numbers, right?
And my guys
8-for-30
were 5-for-26.
Yeah,
5-for-23. So you win. Fitting that you won your first take the rake championship in your final season. You like Mike Mussina.
Like Mike Mussina, yeah.
You win 20 games.
People tell me that all the time.
And then you retire.
Yeah.
My favorite pitcher of all time, Mike Mussina.
Now that I've left the bat around, I'm going to go sign a contract with the Yankees. So
no, you leaving the bat around would and
no, it'd be like going to like 105.7 or something. That'd be a better comparison.
Going to Inside Access.
Yeah.
As their producer.
Well, I'm not going to do that.
and I like 2/3 of Inside Access, but the 1/3 that I don't care for is so egregiously bad that it ruins the entire show. Like so egregiously bad. The Ravens are 6-2, and you would think that they're the worst team in football based on how the 1/3 of that show talks about the team.
Yeah,
they're 6-2, and let's let this go into final thoughts, because our final thoughts are always about the Ravens during football season. Next year they'll be a little bit deeper and about the show and about the Orioles. This team was up, what was it, 24-7 and 31-15.
Yeah.
That game was never in question. It was never.
What you're talking about the Cardinals
against the Cardinals?
Yeah,
that game was never in question.
They were never going to lose.
The fact that Nelson Aguilar is on the hands team is funny.
That is funny.
When I saw him drop that onside kick, I was like, why is Nelson Aguilar?
There's the classic moment. Do you know what I'm talking about when I say the Philly guy in the burning building?
Yeah.
Classic.
He's like, luckily I got hands.
Unlike Nelson Aguilar.
Unlike Aguilar. And his name is Aguilar. It's not Aguilar or Aguilar.
Aguilar.
His name is Aguilar. And my best friend in the world, we're watching the game in his house last week, and he just kept calling him Aguilar to the point where I said, it's Aguilar.
Yeah.
His name is Aguilar.
It's Aguilar.
And the fact that the people that there are certain people on the big sports talk radio station in this town that call him Aguilar, and the guy that calls him that the most is the guy who was an NFL GM. Blows my mind.
That is something.
Blows my mind that nobody, him and Anthony Santander. Why can't people say their names right?
Right. I mean,
they're not difficult.
Aguilar is spelled Aguilar. That's how Aguilar is spelled. Yeah. Aguilar is sounds exactly like it's spelled. You say it like it's spelled. There's O's. There's no U's.
Because there's an H after the G. If you called him Agholler,
right?
I would accept that more than Aguilar. It's not even close to Aguilar. There's an AG and it ends with an R. That's it. It's not Aguilar.
It's not even close.
It's Aguilar.
Aguilar.
And he shouldn't be on the hands team.
No.
He dropped an onside kick. The Ravens should have won that game by double digits. They won by a touchdown, and people have are up in arms about, they barely held on against a bad Cardinals team that scored 17 points in the fourth quarter.
In garbage time, though.
It was in garbage time that was aided by an onside kick against a Ravens team that was playing soft to just try and run out the clock.
Look, I'll be the first one to laud the Ravens for blowing leads and for giving things up and playing easy in the fourth quarter. Mm-hmm. This was not that case. This was just the Ravens saying, "Okay, we've won this game. Now there's no reason to really play all out," and that was the case. They've won that game.
They played they played defense the way they did at the end of that game to let time run out on the clock.
Exactly.
That's why they played defense the way they did.
And they played soft because they don't want to get beat over the top. You get beat over the top, then maybe you have a chance to get back into it. But if you let them drive down the field in 6 minutes rather than 30 seconds, you're going to win this game.
Yeah, exactly. That game was never in question. So people are like, "Oh, this defense letting up in the fourth quarter again." You're an idiot. You're either an idiot or you're just basically trying to make controversy where there is none.
I also saw some Seahawks fans who were like, the Ravens, they said you guys to a bunch of fans on Twitter, you guys gave up 24 points to the Arizona Cardinals. Okay, not really.
Geno Smith is your starting quarterback.
Geno. Well, Geno's turned around his career. He's better than he was, but he's
not been great this year.
They're going to be a tough test. I'm not saying the Seahawks are going to be a walk in the park tomorrow. I don't think that's the case at all.
I don't think they are. The Ravens are favored, when we did our picks, the Ravens are favored by 5.5. And I get that the game's at home and that the Seahawks are traveling from the West Coast.
Yeah.
I don't think the Ravens are covering. I think the Ravens will win, but I don't think they're going to cover tomorrow.
This is a game very much like the Lions game to me, where the Ravens are going to come out and they're going to either get destroyed or they're going to win it by a deciding fashion. There's
no shades of gray there.
I don't think there's going to be a close game. Because you saw what happened in the Lions game, I think that's the way it's going to be. They did not underestimate the Lions. I don't think they're going to underestimate the Seahawks. But when they do underestimate teams like the Steelers, and like basically a lot of teams in the past 2 years, they play close games. They play close games.
The Ravens should have beat the Steelers by 3 touchdowns.
Right, but they underestimated them and they got outcoached by 1 million.
Yeah, and they dropped 7 passes.
That's true.
That's not coaching. They dropped 7 passes and 3 of them were touchdowns.
Yeah.
The Ravens. Lamar Jackson, his team lost a football game 17-10, and he was the highest graded player in the NFL that week.
Right.
That shows you how bad his receivers were. And when they asked him after the Lions game, what was different this week, he said, "My receivers caught the ball."
Yeah, because they did.
Yeah,
that's it.
I can see the Ravens' offense coming out and dominating tomorrow.
I think they are.
But I think that they have to, because even though they're home games. This is the first of 3 games in 11 days. The last 2 are Cleveland next Sunday, and then a short week, Thursday Night Football against the Bengals, who are back.
Is that Thanksgiving?
No, Thanksgiving's a week later. I'm going to be at the game. It's November 16th. I'm going to be at the game with my buddy. And
when do they play Thanksgiving weekend? Is that Sunday then?
Yeah.
26th, 7th?
Something like that.
Okay.
Something like that. But they also need to stack wins now.
Yeah.
Because they end the year, their last 4 games are in San Francisco.
Which is looking easier by the day, to be fair.
Yeah, that's true. But San Francisco will bounce back. But they're in San Francisco. They finish at home against the Dolphins and at home against the Steelers. Who's the game after San Francisco? It's
the Bengals, is it not?
No,
that's wrong.
The Bengals are on Thursday.
They've
already played them once. Let me look this up right.
It could be the Browns then. I don't remember. I looked at this a couple weeks
They've
ago.
already played the Browns once already, and they play the Browns next Sunday.
Oh wow, it's next Sunday already. Wow.
So, why can't I talk? All right, so they've got the Seahawks, the Browns, the Bengals.
Okay.
Then on the 26th, they go out to L.A. to play the Chargers on, I believe it's Sunday Night Football.
Okay.
Then they come home to play the Rams on December 10th. So they have the bye in between.
Okay.
Then they go to Jacksonville to play the Jaguars.
The Jaguars.
That's going to be a tough game.
Like Aguilar, Jaguar.
Jaguar. Well, that's how you actually say that name.
Yeah.
I just always have to say I don't want to say Jaguars and I don't want to say Jaguars like I used to when I was younger.
Yeah.
But Jaguar sounds so
Jaguars.
ridiculous. I always have to. You will never not hear me say Jaguars when I talk about them because I guess you could call them the Jags, but I want to get the name right.
You're afraid of
also,
messing it up. Yeah.
I'm not afraid of messing it up. I just don't want to like.
It's like me and Femi.
No, it's more like British people with aluminum.
Yeah, aluminium.
Aluminium. It's like I know how to say the word.
Yeah. Well,
but it just sounds stupid.
Yeah. All right.
So I say Jaguar, like almost like I'm joking around, but that's how you say it.
All right.
So Chargers, Rams, Jags in Jacksonville on Sunday Night Football. Niners in San Francisco on Christmas night.
Oh, okay. Christmas night.
And then they come home and they've got the Dolphins on on New Year's Eve, and then they've got the Steelers on January 7th. TBD. That could be a flex game.
Okay.
So the Ravens need to win the games that they need to win, and I think that the games against the Seahawks, the Browns, the Chargers, and the Rams, they need to win those games.
Yeah, they do. They're going to have. It's not a ridiculously difficult schedule, but there's a lot of difficult games mixed in there.
Yeah.
And even the Steelers, at the very end of the year where you should win, 9 times out of 10 they should win against the Steelers, they are going to make it a contest. I guarantee it. Mike Tomlin is the best coach in the NFL in my eyes. He's the best coach in the NFL.
That team's been outgained by 730 yards. They've been outgained in every...
They just win.
They're one of 34 teams. Is it 34 teams that have been outgained in every game through their first 8 games?
Right.
And they're the only team to have a winning record.
But here's what's going to happen in the playoffs. They're going to get, if they make it, which I'm still not convinced they will, but if they do, they are going to get pummeled.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to get pummeled. I don't, because you look at the Titans game last week. Oh, not last week, last Thursday, this week.
2 days ago.
A game the Titans should have won, and the Steelers just continued to keep themselves in it, and they won the game by 4 points. But the Titans are a terrible team, and when the Steelers actually face really, really good football teams, which they will, they're going to get pummeled.
Yeah.
They're going to get pummeled.
They
shouldn't have won against the Titans in the first place anyway.
They got their doors blown. Let's look at the Steelers real quick. They got their doors blown off by San Francisco like 31-7 in week 1 of the season.
But now Brock Purdy has turned into a pumpkin, so they can't do anything else. I don't know.
They lost 30-7 against the Niners. They beat the Browns. They beat the Raiders. They lost 30-6 against the Texans, who were a lot better than people thought they were going to be.
Yeah.
They beat the Ravens in a game that they stole. They beat the Rams. They lost to the Jags 20-10, and they beat the Titans 20-16.
Right.
So when the two best teams they played are the Niners and the Jags, and they lost those 2 games by a combined 34 points.
I think the Ravens are better than the Jags.
I do too. And
I believe that.
The Ravens had a big second half lead. They had a 10-point lead at halftime against the Jags last year, and they lost. And they lost in Jacksonville, and those guys celebrated right in their faces. I think that if the Ravens are healthy when they play the Jags, that defense is going to remember. Pepperidge Farm remembers. I think that
that's a classic.
I think that defense is going to remember, and I think that offense is going to remember, and I think that the Ravens are going to make a statement in that game.
Yeah, I would hope so. That's one of the funniest things you've ever said on the show. By the way, that was good. I had a friend in high school who everything we said, he would respond, "Pepperidge Farm remembers." It was so annoying, but that's what he would do. It was like an entire year where he would just say
that's
that
from
to everything.
South Park, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah,
that and the BP guy, like each clip is more section. It's like, we're sorry. I'm only like half.
I don't know that one as well as the Pepperidge
that
Farm
one.
one.
It was right after the BP oil spill and all.
Oh,
that. And
okay.
He's just like, I think one of them, he's laying under the tree at sunset on a picnic table with his shirt open, and like he like rubs his nipple and goes, "We're sorry."
We're sorry.
Anyway, weird.
Anyway,
weird. I went first last week, so your take on this coming on tomorrow's game. You already gave your take, but your prediction.
27-13 Ravens.
27-13 Ravens. I think the Ravens defense is pissed off that people are talking about them the way they were after last week's game when the defense didn't falter. They played soft on purpose.
Yeah.
I can see 13, but I think that this Ravens offense is at a point where they've scored 30 points in back-to-back weeks, and I think they're going to put up another 30 spot or more. I will say Ravens 36.
Okay.
Seahawks 13, even though I picked them not to cover in my picks. The more I think about it, Ravens 36, Seahawks 13.
Fair enough.
That's a lot of scoring for the Ravens because that's 4 touchdowns and 3 field goals. That's 7 scoring drives. 36-13 Ravens.
Okay.
Put on the board. Yes. That's going to do it for us on the Bat Around today. Thank you to Stan the Fan Charles for his weekly segment. Thank you to Bob Phelan for another excellent segment from the On the Verge podcast. Thank you to all of our sponsors. Without you, we don't have a show. Thank you, the listeners, for
you're listening.
For all of your listening. Thank you for tuning in every week. Without you, we certainly don't have a show. One more. We've got, it hurts. Like I'm not, saying this tongue in cheek. It actually hurts my heart to say we only have one show left. One more next week. So please be sure to tune in to the Bat Around's final episode next Saturday, November 11th at 10 a.m. right here for Press Box. Until then,